We are live on YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook simultaneously. What a development for this show and for us. And we're just going to try it out, do a long live stream today. We're going to talk about threats to the AFC North. Also, welcome Spotify listeners. This is the start of the podcast that you're hearing. So welcome for that. We're going to do biggest threats to the AFC North. I'm going to unveil my quarterback formula in podcast form for the first time. And I've texted all of my buddies that have NFL fandoms and are NFL knowledgeable. So we'll see if we can give a few of them a call and just discuss random NFL topics and talk about life and those things. So let's go ahead and get it started. It's the 3 a.m. Coney Live, and it starts right now. So what I wanted to look at on the podcast today is the biggest threat to the Cincinnati Bengals in the AFC North. I think that's kind of the topic that's circulating out there, and it's the topic that I wanted to dive into on the show today. So let's go ahead and just take a look at the odds, and that's where we're going to start us off. And look at this awesome layout choices we have. I can go any which way I want with this layout to see the AFC North odds. But let's go ahead and take a look at these things. Browns, Bengals, this is according to DraftKings. Browns at plus 175, Bengals at plus 200, Ravens at plus 225, and the Steelers all the way down at plus 800. The Steelers are the team that they don't think they're finishing last, but they don't think they're winning the division either. Every other team and fan base, I believe, thinks they're winning the division. And I guarantee when we get Brad Walker on the phone later, when we get Clayton Ober on the phone later, they are going to repeat that their team, the Cleveland Browns, is going to win the division. I had a Ravens fan, Joey Madore, blow us off. He says he's not going to come on the show today because he is so confident in the Ravens' ability to win the AFC North, or he's scared that I'm going to call out all the faults in his team. Although I really like the Ravens draft, and I've been kind of avoiding talking about how much I like the Baltimore Ravens draft. I mean, everybody liked it, but specifically me, I looked at all those players. It was even like, man, if Tyler Linderbaum fell to the Bengals, that would be really great. And, I would like to take a Jabo. We just don't have enough draft capital to take a risk on a guy like that. And it just was a lot of decisions they made that I wish the Bengals would have made. And when a team does that, I can't sit here, say all these things before the draft, and then because the Ravens do them, think that they're bad decisions. But that's why they're always competitive. But the Bengals have honestly had an upper hand on the Ravens outside of the short little window. So it's not really, we'll see. We'll see. In terms of 2022, though, the biggest threat to me is a healthy Deshaun Watson and Nick Chubb and that Cleveland Browns team figuring it out on defense with an elite pass rusher. They just have an elite player at every space on the field. And if Deshaun Watson just comes back and is Houston Texans, Deshaun Watson, they're going to win a lot of games. There are going to be a lot of teams in this league. Now, are they better than the Cincinnati Bengals? I just don't think that's true. But are they in the range that if the Bengals have a horrific run, whether it's injuries or just football, fall down to 11 wins and the Browns steal the division at 12 and 13 wins? Yeah, I'm not going to sit here and say that's impossible. But they've just become the biggest threat in my eyes as I've kind of thought about it. The Ravens had some free agents. If they had Zadarius Smith on that team, if all the Ravens fans' dreams come true, but I just don't know who Lamar Jackson is going to throw to. And this is a wide receiver league. And we're seeing that now. I mean, every story is like, oh, we're in a wide receiver bubble, or wide receivers are now the most valuable position in the sport. I don't know if that's really, I mean, it's definitely quarterback. I think we all know that. But how much these wide receivers are being valued? $29 million. That's quarterback money. I mean, that's average quarterback money for an elite wide receiver. And that is completely different than the calculus the NFL has had for a very long time. So when I look at the Browns, they have an elite offensive line. Although it might fall down a little bit. I think the Bengals offensive line has a chance to match the Browns offensive line. You have J.C. Treader moving out of there. They've had to move some pieces on the offensive line in Cleveland. So there's a chance it could fall off, but I trust their offensive line. I think Deshaun Watson is a great player. I don't know if he's a winning quarterback, but he's a great player. And if you've got pieces around him, he can really make them even better because he's an elite talent. I mean, 108 passer rating, he's on all the elite passing list. I think he's a top 10 quarterback in the NFL, no doubt. And that can certainly elevate a team. You've got an elite back end defensive back in Denzel Ward, who is the only guy that really gave Jamar Chase any trouble this season, that I really felt like one-on-one, like, well, Denzel's competing out there. Jamar Chase cooked everybody else, including Jalen Ramsey, including the other top guys in the league. And I think that's a big reason why the Browns paid Denzel Ward. They said, we can't let the only guy that seems to be able to cover Jamar Chase walk out the door. Otherwise, Jamar Chase is going to walk over us every time we play the Cincinnati Bengals. So I really do think it's the Browns. Because here's the thing about Baltimore. They're banking on that 14-2 run replicating again. Okay, let's load up on inside players. Let's get really good again run blocking because the offensive line was an issue in Baltimore last year. Let's get great safeties like, Ed Reed throwback. Let's be good up the middle. Right when the league is going outside. And I like when teams go unique, but this is a little too unique. Relying on Rashad Bateman as a number one, I just don't know if you're going to be able to score enough points running the football that way. Not with who you're competing with in the division. Not when because the Ravens have to look at themselves and say, how do we beat the Cincinnati Bengals? And if they think it's this grinding, running offense that's going to bleed the clock, you're kind of playing right into the Bengals' hands. The Bengals showed you what they thought their weakness was by drafting that much in the secondary. They said, we can't really cover people. So if you get great on the outside, it's tough for the Bengals. There's going to be rookies out there. Cam Taylor-Britt is going to be guarding an elite wide receiver. That's why it was a relief for me to see Tyreek Hill go to Miami, to see that Chiefs, one of the biggest rivals for the Bengals, have that outside threat eliminated, because Tyreek was this close. If Mahomes and him time it up a little better, probably would have won the AFC Championship on like an 80-yard touchdown. So the Ravens are saying, we don't need to beat teams on the outside. We're going to go right at the Bengals, right at DJ Reader, right at Sam Hubbard, who's a great run defender, right at the developing linebackers and Logan Wilson and Jermaine Pratt, Mike Hilton, who's the best nickel run defender in the league. So it's just a plan that seems like they're disregarding Cincinnati after Cincinnati housed them twice. And so when I see teams doing that and not understanding, okay, we need to do something to beat our division rival, our main division rival, the team that stomped us twice and took the division. If you're not focusing on that, I don't know if that's the right plan. And I haven't seen MVP Lamar Jackson in a long time. Let's be honest about that. I have not seen MVP Lamar Jackson in a very long time. And I think he's one of the best football players in the league, but I don't think he's one of the best quarterbacks in the league. He's somewhere around 8, 9, 10, 11 in my eyes in this league. Because, think about the list. Burrow, Mahomes, Allen, Stafford just won the Super Bowl. Are you taking Lamar Jackson over Matthew Stafford for 2022? Probably I'd take Lamar over Stafford. Maybe, just because of the running ability. But in terms of quarterback play, it's definitely Matthew Stafford. If you have an elite offense ready to go with outside weapons, is Matthew Stafford or Lamar Jackson more valuable? He hasn't won the playoff games. So you have to ask those questions when you look at Lamar Jackson's stat line. And we can take a look at it, guys. I'm not afraid to take a look at Lamar Jackson's stats, because the stats speak for themselves. And if you telling me that one center draft pick is going to fix this offensive line for Lamar Jackson, doesn't have Marquise Hollywood Brown anymore. So there's like this myth last year that he was, he's 7-5. If they were the 1 seed when he left, 8-3, I believe, admittedly. I don't know how they came to this quarterback record. Although 12 starts, 7-5 record. Only a 64% completion, which, by the way, Joe Burrow has had a higher completion percentage this year than any of these. 2 touchdowns short of Lamar's most touchdowns in a single season with 36. Yards per attempt, Joe Burrow, that shattered what Lamar Jackson has done. And it tied his adjusted yards per attempt from 2019. Now, great rating, great QBR. That's better than what Joe Burrow had. But this was 2019, guys. No COVID in this year. Since that point, if we take a look at Lamar Jackson, let's see the splits. 18-9, that's a great record. And listen, this is great. This is great. This is not top 7, top 5 MVP stuff. 26 touchdowns, 14 interceptions, 93 rate. I mean, we can go to the rushing, and I know the rushing's a huge deal, but if Ravens fans can't admit now that the rushing stuff isn't necessarily going to be a huge factor in winning playoff games and winning important games against elite quarterbacks who can throw the ball over your head. If you haven't learned that now, I don't know when you're going to learn it. So they don't have any outside weapons to carry him. They barely have anybody to dump off the ball to, and he can run it upfield. And I think Lamar Jackson is, again, incredible. Incredible football player. But there's a high bar in this league for being a top 5 quarterback, and I just don't think he's that. I think he's a great football player. I just don't think he's a top 5 quarterback. I think he's a top 10 quarterback. Because you would go, let me do the list. Burrow, Allen, Mahomes, Brady, Rodgers, I think Herbert. That's 6. Let's see. Who else would I take? I mean, let's go to the leaders. We're right here. Might as well pull it up. If we go by approximate value, Jalen Hurts was better this year, although I would not take Jalen Hurts. I would take Rodgers over Lamar Jackson. I would take Burrow. I would not take Prescott, Cousins. I would take Russell Wilson over Lamar Jackson. I think we're going to see that this year. I would take Brady over Lamar. I would take Mahomes over Lamar. I mean, that's a deep list. You're already out of the top 5. And then you can have arguments with everybody else because of the running. But those top 5 guys, the top 6 guys with Justin Herbert, if you include him, I just don't know how you make the argument. I think you can have the argument with Chargers fans if you want and say that Justin Herbert was, in fact, not better than Lamar Jackson if you want to somehow make that argument. But guys, when you look at where is Lamar? Where is Lamar? Where's Lamar on this leaderboard, guys? I can't command F it. Lamar Jackson, is he on this page? No. No, he's not on this page. League leader page. No Lamar. I wonder why. Oh, because he was really average. But again, Lamar Jackson's a great player. You guys are just going crazy that you think that they're just going to walk through the division out of nowhere. I mean, I just how are you going to stop 42 points on your head? I mean, unless Kyle Hamilton's that great and the secondary's that great for the Baltimore Ravens, but it's going to be a tough ask to cover Joe Burrow and company. I'll tell you that. All right, I'm going to share this podcast right now. So if you're watching on Spotify, you might want to skip forward a few. But the biggest threat in the AFC North, I will say, is the Browns. The Steelers, to me, have given up. We're going to draft Kenny Pickett, have Mitchell Trubisky there. We'll have a competition with them. We'll see if Mike Tomlin can keep us above 500, as he seems to always do. But there's a team that's got to collapse in this mess, okay? There's a team that has to collapse in this AFC North mess. I want to pull up the AFC North standings from last year. Let me find the standings. Here we go. Right, because and I love Pro Football Reference. This is the site we're on. I mean, obviously, everybody knows Reference, but here's the division standings from last year. Your simple rating system, which I love SRS. Here's the explanation for it. Team quality relative to average as measured by SRS, right? So it takes strength of schedule, it takes point differential, and it mixes it all up in a very simple formula. It's not a hot, it's not as good as PFF stuff, but even then the PFF stuff can be over analytical. A lot of these simple rating systems, a lot of these they're an easier way to look at football, and a lot of times some of the simplest ways can really show you the path, right? So SRS is not law, but it's a good way to look at teams. And if you look at, well, the Ravens had all these injuries and they should be closer on SRS then, because Lamar Jackson played a large portion of the season. We saw that 12 games started. So their SRS should be a little more competitive here. Now it's better than the Browns and the Steelers, who finished above them technically in the division standings, but it's on the down. And if we take a look at the Baltimore Ravens, because listen, one of these teams is going to be below 500 this year, because the Bengals are going to plus up 2 or 3 wins. The Browns are going to plus up 2 or 3 wins just because of the elevation of their rosters that's happened. Okay. The Bengals' improvement on the offensive line, because I'm not saying La'el Collins and Alex Kappa and Ted Karras are these dominant players. What I'm saying is, if you live in a place where the back window is blown out and the shower doesn't have a curtain and the floors are sticky every time you walk on them, if you move to a below average apartment or an average apartment where just all that stuff is fixed, your experience is times 10. It's out of this world. And that's what the Bengals did. Even if it's just average, that is significant improvement at the most important position group in the sport. Still the most important position group in the sport. And you just had a duo in Chase and Burrow, and you can call it a quadruplet or a quintuplet if you want to add Mixon and Boyd and Higgins. And I think Chris Evans is going to come along. And I think Hayden Hurst is an additional weapon. So if you want to add all those guys that already overcame this cancerous unit and you just replace it with an average unit, that's significant improvement in the running game, in the passing game. And there was room and improvement in every game. And what was the talk about the Bengals last year? Oh, this team, they're if they don't turn it over, they win. Well, that sounds like a really good team. That, okay, well, if we don't turn it over, we're going to have enough big plays. We'll score 30 points. We'll win the game. And like the loss to the Jets was a referendum, but the offense was good in that game, 31 points. I think the Jets are on the up and up, but whatever. I don't want to talk about the Jets. I want to talk about how one of these teams has got to get worse. And Ravens fans are just going to point to the Steelers. And I think that it's fair, except I believe in Mike Tomlin so damn much. And I think Kenny Pickett and Mitch Trubisky, as bad as they may end up being, I think in 2022, they will be better players than Ben Roethlisberger was in 2021. I mean, it's incredible Ben didn't throw more picks. His turnover-worthy plays were he almost broke a record for turnovers compared to how many turnover-worthy plays by PFF he had. I mean, he had like 25 or something crazy. So you want to point to the Steelers, but I think their quarterback play is going to get better. And I think they dealt with injuries too. I think the Ravens want to complain about the injuries, but TJ Watt was hobbled for most of the year. So when you look at which of these teams is going to regress, I'm not going to pick a team that just signed a $230 million quarterback. Forget the off-field stuff. I know it's really important, but I think the Falcons might have paid him that contract. I think a lot of teams might have paid him that contract because the last time he played, he had a 108 passer rating. So the Browns just added that. The Bengals improved their weakest unit, and it's the most important unit in the league, the offensive line. And all their players, their oldest defender, guys, is 28 this year. The Bengals' oldest defender is 28 years old. 28, oldest defender. And the offense is littered with Jamar Chase is 22. I'm older than Jamar. That's insane. Jamar Chase is 22. T. Higgins is 23. Jesse Bates is 25. Joe Mixon is 26. Like, these guys are all in their prime. So you make the argument that the Bengals get worse. I think that's a pretty dumb one. So the Bengals will plus up in wins. Browns will plus up in wins guaranteed. I think the Steelers got better quarterback play. The Ravens, what's their argument? Well, we had a great draft. Okay. Great teams normally don't rely on rookies, no matter how great your draft is. Even if it's a home run, they're probably not going to be their best version of themselves for 2 or 3 years. Okay, well, we have an MVP quarterback. Well, we just went through it for 10 minutes. It was pre-COVID that Lamar Jackson last played like an MVP. He's been a great quarterback since then, not an MVP. And he hasn't, 18-9 record since the MVP year, which is really good from Lamar Jackson. But that's a Ravens team that had that roster that's now dwindled and been replaced by rookies. And their argument is that two players nearing the age of 30, and Ronnie Stanley and Marcus Peters, these critical players to their offense and defense, the argument is that they're going to come back and be better or be the same and stay healthy for the entire season at 29. And if you look at corners, this is the point where they start to go like this. So at critical positions, left tackle and corner, you have guys coming off of injuries, and you're expecting them to be the same players. And how often does that work out in the NFL? You don't have any outside receivers, which the Bengals proved can be an incredibly valuable position because they passed on what I believe is going to end up being a Hall of Fame left tackle in Penei Sewell with the way he played in his first year for a Hall of Fame wide receiver in Jamar Chase. And we saw how that worked out. And the Ravens don't have any outside threats. And I question their defensive line still. Ojabo ain't rushing this year. And if he is, he's not going to be an immediate elite player on that defensive line. So I think the Ravens are the team due for some regression here. And they were 8-9. They were 17th in points per game, 19th in points against. Expected win-loss was 8.5 to 8.6. Don Martindale is gone, which he was the most respected person in that locker room before the season, other than John Harbaugh. So let's look at this season for the Ravens. Let's try to be fair with it week by week. And I love looking at the expected points because we can really see the performances of the offense and the defense. Now, Ravens fans are telling me that this defense that got torched by the Raiders, they lost it in overtime. Torched by the Chiefs. They won that game. Impressive win. This is Lamar doing great stuff. This Lions game, the field goal from Justin Tucker from 66 saves them because the offense can't really get going. Only 5 expected points added. Only 19 points scored. And the defense was bad against Jared Goff and the Lions. You go to the Broncos. Broncos have a great defense. To be able to do this, now this is an impressive win. This is 3-1. This is the best version of the Ravens. Defense shows up against Teddy Bridgewater, though. So this is when the defense is supposed to show up. You go back to an above-average quarterback, and Carson Wentz drops 25 points on him, takes him to overtime. Good performance against Herbert. This was when the Ravens were like, okay, they're legit. This is when I was looking at it and saying, all right, the defense, it was bad here early, and maybe elite quarterbacks can tear them up. But they just stopped Herbert, right? Herbert's elite. And I think this kind of also points to some of the flaws in the Justin Herbert argument about he's just this unstoppable, unbeatable player. I think this is a better look. We'll stay in this. Then they play the Bengals. And this is the fulcrum point of the season here. Right before the bye week, chance to go 6-1 at home. Haven't been on the road since October 3rd. The date was October 24th. And if you look at this game, let's take a look at what the spread was before this game. because they should have it. I mean, I remember it. It was 6.5. Yep. Baltimore Ravens, 6.5-point favorites. So this was the fulcrum point. This game was the fulcrum point of the Baltimore Ravens season. Okay? Lamar Jackson was healthy. Let's take a look at the injuries before I do this rant. Let's take a look at the injuries because they have injuries as well. At least they should. Starting lineups. Let's go to the starting lineups. Okay, here's the starting lineups. Baltimore Ravens are at home last year. 5-1 record. Getting ready to go into the bye week. Hadn't been on the road since October 3rd. Date was October 24th. Here's their starting lineup. Lamar Jackson, Devontae Freeman. They had Alejandro Villanueva at left tackle. Now, this is a bad offensive line. So who's going to be different? You're going to have Tyler Linderbaum there. Marlon Humphreys in the secondary. This is going to look different for them. Deshaun Elliott, Chuck Clark. That's rough. So if you fix that, yeah, defense can be better. But Lamar Jackson's there. Your wide receiving crew's going to be better than it is now. I don't think Rashad Bateman's going to take that big of a leap. But those are the starters. And let's see where the Bengals got better. Maybe outside corner, Eli Apple. This position, Josh Tupou, Larry Ogunjobi. I think this will improve from the draft. And this offensive line is going to be significantly better. This will be Ted Karras. This will be Alex Kappa. This will probably be Cordell Volson, I'll predict. And this is L. Collins now instead of Riley Reif. So that's really good. And this is Hayden Hurst, which I think is an improvement. And then these guys are all the same and they're in their prime. But when you look at this matchup, guys, the Bengals housed them. Absolutely housed them. 41-17. Beat the brakes off of them. And everybody could say, well, if you watch that game, it was really closer at the end there. Yeah, look at the expected points. 20 expected points on your face. 22 in the passing game. You look at the classic stats. 416 yards, 3 touchdowns, an accomplishment prime Peyton Manning. Prime Peyton Manning was the only one that had accomplished this feat of this many points, this many yards in Baltimore in front of 70,000 with a chance to go 6-1, and the Bengals housed them healthy. Blew the doors off them. So again, was this a mirage? Because you go overtime to the Vikings. And again, the defense is just bad. Now the defense will be better. So maybe this is going to be a huge jump. But I think the offense, I don't know. And then you lose Lamar and then whatever. You can stop making the arguments. Sure. Lost to the Dolphins before Lamar's gone. Barely beating the Bears 16-13, guys. 16-10 win against the Browns while they're floundering. So this is not sure things here. All right. Okay, I want to talk about one more thing before we start phone calls. I want to introduce my quarterback spreadsheet formula because we've determined that the Browns are the biggest threat in the AFC North for the Cincinnati Bengals. And I know, guys, on Spotify, this is more of a live stream. We're just trying to go long. So if I'm just pointing at the screen and rambling, I hope you're watching the video that we have available to us now on Spotify. And we'll pull this up to full screen now. And we've got wonderful, 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 wonderful people listening to the show. I think. Maybe nobody's listening. But I want to ask the question one more time and then state it for the podcast. And this is also for our social media feeds. Who should scare the Bengals in the AFC North? We looked at the odds. Vegas thinks that everybody should scare the Bengals. FanDuel has them as third in their odds. But in my mind, after the draft, after free agency, what I said the team that scares me the most was the Pittsburgh Steelers. And then I watched them draft Kenny Pickett. And I didn't really see them improve units of problem throughout the offseason. So I don't think I'm scared of the Steelers. Now, I think they're going to sit around 500 because I think Kenny Pickett, Mitch Trubisky is better than Ben Roethlisberger last year. But I don't think that they're any threat to win the division. But I think they're going to be an 8-9, 9-8 team, right around there. The Ravens were 8-9 and are banking on all these guys coming back from injury. Lamar Jackson's a threat, though. But I don't think they're the biggest threat. I don't think it's even close. I think it's the Cleveland Browns. I think you have a Browns team that has elite players at every single position group. Elite players at every single position group. O-line, D-line, secondary, linebacker maybe. We'll see Koromoa, how he develops. I don't know. But linebacker's not even that important. The Bengals might end up with elite linebackers, and it might only improve their defense marginally. It's about pass rush. It's about pass coverage. It's going to be about Dax Hill, Cam Taylor, Britt, Eli Apple. So when you look at who scares you the most, it's the Browns. Denzel Ward can cover Jamar Chase on occasion. Nick Chubb can run through the Bengals' run defense. That is one of their biggest strengths. Myles Garrett can explode through Lael Collins and through Jonah Williams and forces fumbles from Joe Burrow. And if you look at what team hasn't Joe Burrow beaten, it's the Cleveland Browns, which is incredible. He won the AFC. He beat Mahomes twice before he beat the Cleveland Browns. He accomplished things in Cincinnati. He broke all the Bengals passing records, except the completion percentage one, which I think he'll break this year. He broke all the records in Bengals history, a franchise that is designed to beat the Browns, and the Browns are the only team that Joe Burrow hasn't beaten in the division. And he's beaten every other team soundly. Blowout wins, double-digit wins. Because all 4 division games this year against the Ravens and the Steelers, the Bengals won by double digits. And in fact, they trashed, actually. We posted the stats on the Coney, on our Twitter. I don't know why I say it like that. We posted those stats on the Coney. Let me pull those up of what the Cincinnati Bengals did to the AFC North. You know what? It's going to take me too long to pull that up. There's no reason to pull that up. We want to get to the phone calls and everything like that. And I want to show my all-time quarterback formula. So the final answer, who should scare the Bengals the most in the AFC North? It is definitely the Cleveland Browns. Bengals haven't beat them yet. What are we supposed to say to Browns fans other than shove the AFC Championship in their face? But that's evident, you know. And we're going to have Browns fans calling, and I think they're going to be blown away by my take. I just think that the Ravens, to me, are the team that is getting hype because everybody's like, oh, injuries, and then everybody will be back. Like, injuries don't pile on. Like, injuries are sometimes a thing that constantly happen to players, to teams. And I'm not wishing that upon the Ravens, but they are banking on a 29-year-old left tackle and cornerback coming off of season-ending injuries to stabilize the 2 most important position groups on their team. And they don't have a pass rush. And I'm not sure they can stop the run. So, and they're relying on rookies in the secondary and up the middle of their offensive line. They don't have an outside weapon. And you're asking me to trust a guy that hasn't played like an MVP since 2019. And I've lived through a pandemic, and there's war in Europe since that stuff's happened. Roe v. Wade just got overturned. I mean, the world has gone absolutely bananas. So much has happened since the last time Lamar Jackson has played like an MVP. And so if that's the bet we're making, sure. But they were an 8-9 football team last year. And they were, yes, 8-3 when Lamar Jackson got hurt. They were the 1 seed, yes, when Lamar Jackson got hurt. But they got housed by the Bengals. They needed a 66-yard field goal to beat the Detroit Lions. They went to overtime to the Vikings. They only beat the Bears 16-13. They lost to the Dolphins. It's a schedule that's littered with faults. It's a team that, to me, is still littered with some faults and is relying on rookies. Rookies I think are great. Ravens had a great draft, in my opinion. And I am scared of Lamar Jackson. I am. But the Bengals have shown an ability to stop Lamar Jackson. And I haven't seen MVP Lamar Jackson, the one that was spinning Nick Vigil into a cyclone. I haven't seen him in a while. And so when I'm looking at a division this good, somebody's got to disappoint. And I think the Ravens are definitely the candidate to disappoint. But the Browns, they should scare the Bengals. That should be, hey, we got to beat the Browns. We got to sweep the Browns. We got to show that there's still stuff to prove for this Bengals team. And that's what's exciting, because that means they'll see room to improve, and that means that they'll improve. Okay, I want to talk about my all-time quarterback formula. Yes, my nerdy thing that I do randomly for no money, for no compensation, for no anything other than to maybe talk about it on this podcast. Maybe I'm going to write stuff about it. But I just wanted to find out who the greatest quarterback of all time was. And I'll tell you what, this was born from an argument I had on the radio. As I'm trying to figure out who I should call. Let's go ahead and we're going to call Brad Walker in a little bit. But I'm going to do this quarterback spreadsheet thing, because this came from a conversation, an argument I had on the radio, and I believe Brad Walker was involved. And it was on the Sports Fan back in Athens. And I was making an argument about, hey, Eli Manning shouldn't be in the Hall of Fame. Eli Manning should not be in the Hall of Fame. I stood on the table on this radio show and said it over and over and over again. Eli Manning shouldn't be on the Hall of Fame. You know, just because you went to Super Bowls, you have to look at the scope of the career, and I know the stats are good, but was he ever one of the best 10 quarterbacks in the league at any one point in time? I'm not sure. So can you really put him in the Hall of Fame? Was he ever an elite player? I just don't think you can do that. And that question to me, I kind of answered it, and I said, well, I mean, what's the threshold to making the Hall of Fame? And I know Pro Football Reference has some things with approximate value, but do they really rate what we should consider for quarterback play in their formulas? And I said, I don't really think so. I think that I can come up with something to where, in my mind, when I think of ranking the greatest quarterbacks ever, something that I can go to, I can plug in, I can trust and say, this is my formula. This is how I know that this quarterback is here and this quarterback is here, and this is who should be in the Hall of Fame, and this is who shouldn't be in the Hall of Fame. And so I went on an insane journey of data collection. As you can see, I pointed the wrong way. I went on an amazing data collection journey, a journey that I had to undertake over many long nights of finding. Not finding. I want to thank the great folks at Pro Football Reference for having so much data just easily available for me to sort through and make a spreadsheet out of. And so let's take a look at this formula, and I want to talk about it, because this is what led me to find out that I was wrong in the Eli Manning debate. So what I did was I didn't rank the quarterbacks in my head at all before. I took this formula. I said, okay, what do we rate all-time quarterbacks on? Okay, winning Super Bowls. So starter on Super Bowl winning team, MVP, obvious. Okay, what about the years that running backs, wide receivers win MVP? It's not always a quarterback throughout NFL history. So you got to go to all pro. That's also an additional point. So if you're all pro, MVP, a lot of points. If you win a championship game, make it to the Super Bowl, that's a significant accomplishment. That puts you in different status in NFL history. That's 10 points, right? Now, it's not just all team awards. I did the breakdown percentage-wise. Team stuff is 37% of the list. Individual stuff is 63% of the possible points. And not to mention, I didn't really able to find a way to league leader bonus. You can get multiple times. So individual accomplishments are very much properly weighted in this. It's not just guys on good teams, but winning matters. Quarterback matters towards winning. So if you win and you're a quarterback, you had a large part in that. And I think that all of us to ignore that would be silly. So wins matter certainly in the formula. I wanted to take out the problems with era, right? I wanted to take out, hey, this guy had this stat in this era, only had a 55% completion percentage. If you look at Terry Bradshaw's numbers, they're kind of abysmal compared to modern NFL numbers. I wanted to take out the era difference in the way our numbers have been inflated at the quarterback position. So I wanted to take that out. And the way I did that was you had to finish top 10 in your specific statistical category, these three categories right here, top 10 in yards per attempt, top 10 in passing touchdowns, top 10 in passer rating. You earned points for each of those. I made passer rating a little less because passer rating has some flaws. Passing touchdowns, yards per attempt, a little more reliable metrics, especially when you're comparing eras. So I just made it a little less, adjusted it a tiny bit for top 10 in passer rating. Playoff win to me is 5 points, significant to win a playoff game. Andy Dalton couldn't do it for a long time, and that'll define his entire career. If he wins 2 or 3, he jumps an entire annal on this spreadsheet, and I wanted to make sure that was reflected. Playoff berth is 1, winning the division is 2, league leader bonus is 5. What does that mean? This is the league leader bonus. So if you led the league in touchdowns, yards, passer rating, completion percentage, and adjusted yards per attempt, and also rush yards per attempt, if you led the whole league in those categories, you get an extra 5 bonus points. That was a late addition to the spreadsheet because I felt like just doing top 10, you're weighting guys that finished 8th, 9th, the same as the guys that led the league in the category, and I didn't want to do that. I wanted to reward guys that have a league leader bonus. So I added that into the spreadsheet. And I want to thank Chris Gain for helping me do the math on the math setup on the spreadsheet. Rookie of the year, you only can win that once, so that's 4 points. 1 point for each fourth quarter comeback. I think fourth quarter comebacks are impressive. And I wanted to be able to give an extra 1 point for some regular season achievements. And I hate the Pro Bowl, but it's the only thing that's been dated back that you can count like the top 10-ish quarterbacks in the league that year. So Pro Bowl is 3 points. That's the quarterback formula. There it is. It's explained. And I'm going to definitely approach this topic numerous times in terms of the quarterback formula. What do you mean you're going to approach this topic numerous times? Well, I'm going to do articles and always constantly refer to the spreadsheet. This is a lifelong spreadsheet. So I want to share the rankings with you and their point totals. And this is a better way to look at it right here. So this is, and I have 128 quarterbacks on this damn spreadsheet. I look at this data, okay? Guys, look at this. Look at all this stuff I have done. It's Super Bowl era only because that's like modern actual football. I got the years they played, how many seasons they started 10 plus games in. I am so deep in this spreadsheet right now. And I just want to emphasize how much work this was. And I'm kind of mind blown that I did it all. But I did do it all so that we could find out that Eli Manning is actually a Hall of Famer. And I did all this work to prove myself right in a sports take argument. And the formula flipped me off and said, nah, bro, Eli Manning is better than Joe Namath and Warren Moon. Now, to be fair, I'm really close because this is the Hall of Fame line. Warren Moon, who spent some time in Canada, so he wasn't able to accrue as many points, but I think he deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. Same with Joe Namath. So I agree with those Hall of Famers, and Eli Manning is above them. And if Eli Manning is above Joe Namath, then he deserves to be in the Hall of Fame in the spreadsheet, and he won more Super Bowls than Joe Namath. So it's hard for me to sit here and argue that. And so I proved myself wrong. All of that arguing. And I proved myself wrong. All of this work just to prove myself wrong. So gold is Hall of Famers. Green is active players. White is retired players who have not yet been elected to the Hall of Fame. But Drew Brees will get there. Ben Roethlisberger will get there. Obviously, they're first ballot Hall of Famers. Now, what's interesting is I put in this formula, and it's a very good list. And that's how you know it's a good formula. I mean, just look. The Hall of Famers are all at the top. Patrick Mahomes, if he retired today, would be a Hall of Famer. Matt Ryan, in my eyes, is going to make the Hall of Fame. I mean, if we look at Matt Ryan's career achievements, it's so hard to see some of these spreadsheets. But if you look at Matt Ryan, he's accrued a lot of points on this spreadsheet. 14, 17.1 points per season. So what's points per season, you ask? Well, that's seasons, 8 games started. So Tom Brady has started 20 seasons of at least 8 games. Remember, he missed the season in 2008. Didn't start his rookie year. So 22 years in the league, 20 seasons started, points per season, total points divided by seasons, points per season. Bang. And Tom Brady is first in total points, second in points per season, because guess who ruins it? And Nick Wright would really like this. on First Things First because Patrick Mahomes points per season. Oh my God. 57.5. Are you out of your mind? Bum, 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 bum. Bum, 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 bum. Yeah, Clayton is being mean. We'll call Clayton here. I got to get this Bluetooth on. Clayton just apologized, like, oh, I'm sorry that nobody's watching. Like, dude, I don't care that nobody's watching. I really don't. It's a recorded podcast. People watch it later. That's kind of the point, buddy. Like, that's kind of the point. I was going through the spreadsheet because I'm recording it.
Hello,
and we're going to use it later. There's his voicemail. Let's get Clayton off. Trying to call Clayton and get him into the show. But I proved everybody wrong, or proved myself wrong, excuse me. And Eli Manning is a Hall of Famer. But if we look at Patrick Mahomes, this is what's so interesting about this. 57.5 on the spreadsheet. 57.5 on the spreadsheet. That is so much for Patrick Mahomes. It was like 60-something last year, so it's gone down. Now, as he plays more seasons, is that going to go down? Will it be? See, Brad's been watching since the Ravens talk. So, exactly. This is the thing. Clayton's like, oh, man, nobody's watching. Clayton. Oh, hold on. Clayton, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. You hear me?
Yeah, Clayton, you're like, oh, nobody's watching. Like, Brad was watching. I think some people on Facebook were watching.
Okay. I was figuring that out once I thought about it. I'm like, I'm only on Twitter.
Yeah, I mean, I don't care. I honestly don't care if people are watching. This is just a super easy way to record with these super things. I'm just going to post this stuff on TikTok. I just pull out a 3-minute clip of me talking.
Yeah, no, I'm not. I felt bad for you in a sense. That's all. I wasn't trying to dodge it. I was like, it's a cool thing.
Okay, but
doing it.
Okay, but listen, I'm sitting here and I'm being all passionate about this quarterback spreadsheet. And look at all this work I've done. I'm showing how much work I've done. And you're texting me like, bro, I feel so bad for you. You look so dumb doing this stream.
What? I didn't say you look dumb. I never said that. Literally, I just was texting you about it.
I know. Okay, so what do you think of my spreadsheet? I mean, I
like it.
Right?
It's so in depth. It's got, I mean, you got great things in it, and it measures. Like, I like the era to era. How you said you didn't want to keep those out from each other, and you wanted to keep those, out of the factor, and I like that.
Yeah,
it's so in detail.
Yeah, I mean that was the goal of it, but what was interesting is, let's see, who's the highest Browns quarterback on this?
Oh God,
because Otto Graham ain't on the list, buddy. It's Super Bowl era only.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure Otto Graham would be very high on this thing. No Hall of Famers. Let's see. We're all the way down at 36. Let's see. Anybody that even played for the Browns? Did Roman Gabriel? No. All right. We're down at Randall Cunningham, down at 50. Matt Hasselbeck. No. Uh-oh. We're all the way down at 60, 61. Clayton. Bernie Kosar, 63rd on the list, 109 points.
63rd.
109 points. Vinny Testaverde just above him at 111 points at 62nd. So those are your Browns quarterbacks. Highest Bengals quarterback on this list is Carson Palmer, who is at 126 points over 11 seasons.
So,
although Palmer would say he's a Cardinals quarterback. He's a Cardinals quarterback.
Would he really?
Yeah, he's been saying that stuff. It's unbelievable. So
what? How long did he play there? Like 3 or 4 years?
Yeah, whatever.
That's what I'm. Yeah, it's insane.
So then, if we look at the active Browns quarterback, Deshaun Watson, where is he at? Because I have him on this list. He's at 65 points, tied with Lamar Jackson, and they each have 3 seasons started. So Throw that at Ravens fans, that Deshaun and Lamar have the exact same career accomplishments according to Lucas's quarterback spreadsheet.
Okay, will do. I will definitely throw that out there.
Although I will admit this probably doesn't properly weight Lamar's rushing impact, but we haven't seen rushing impact ever win a Super Bowl. So until that happens, I'm not going to take it much into account.
True.
Now, nip it on their tails, buddy. At 62 points, down 105th on the spreadsheet, Joe Burrow, who is already, if Joe Burrow retired today, Clayton, he's 5 points ahead of Andy Dalton on this spreadsheet.
Wow.
Right? He's played 2 seasons. He is 5 points ahead of Andy Dalton on this spreadsheet, who has 10 seasons logged. And other players Joe Burrow's already passed: Jay Cutler, Archie Manning, Ken O'Brien, Greg Landry, Scott Mitchell, you might know, Ryan Fitzpatrick, Rex Grossman, Cordell Stewart, David Gerard, Sam Bradford. These are kind of not impressive now.
Boy, if these players saw your list, they might feel bad about themselves with how low they.
I mean, come on, to be one of the 128 greatest people to ever do something.
Okay, true.
I mean, at least you're on the damn list, right? Because the only I have not been able to find. I have not put every starter obviously in here. It's only 128 guys. It's just if you made a Pro Bowl, I tried to put you on. I got all the Hall of Famers on. I got all the All Pros on, and all the active players that have had significant. I don't know. It's like Justin Fields on here. He hasn't done anything. He would have like 2 points. So
yeah, no.
You have to be like double-digit points for me to put you on.
Okay.
And so, I got pretty much I got everybody that has double-digit points. So that means we have a comprehensive top 128.
So where did you come up with this idea for this list from? Like, there's got to be something where this started. There's got to be something deep where you were like, I want to put together a list of the greatest quarterbacks ever, and just see how everybody ranks throughout eras and stuff like that.
Yeah. Well,
what got you there?
I was just kind of talking about it with Chris Lingane, and Chris is the one that helped make the math part of the spreadsheet to where I can type it in and ranks the players quickly. And then I added everything else and the colors and all that good stuff. But I basically, it's a relevant topic always. So I know that it's something that I can always utilize. And I wanted to answer the Eli Manning question. I don't know if you remember that argument I had on the radio with, I forget who. It might have been Brad. I don't know. Let's try to get Brad on the phone here.
Wait, can you do multiple people?
Dude, I can do multiple people. That is not a problem.
Oh, okay.
Hold on 1 second. We're calling Brad Walker.
Let's try to get Brad.
Bradley. Brad.
Hello. Sorry.
Hold on.
Sure that you weren't listening yourself.
No, you're good. Are you there? Clayton, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Yeah, I'm here.
Okay.
What up, Brad?
I just feel like we're on Court Street. That's all I just felt like just happened. I just feel like we're on Court Street now.
Yeah, hey, I got courtside pizza vibes going right now.
Really?
It feels right. Like, it should be like I'm in a mindset. It's like 70 degrees. It's a fall Sunday. We're sitting on the courtside patio, just watching some football.
Yeah, and talking football, man.
Exactly.
Now, Brad, I have considered pulling up your application to the Savannah Bananas, which your cover video, which is available on YouTube, which I thought was fantastic. Oh, sure. And I think that I wanted to ask you this, how relevant the Savannah Bananas have become in like the baseball culture. Like, how cool is that you were ground floor in on that experience? Like, you were right. Like, dude, you were like a director. It's like if you would have been a stagehand or one of the main actors on like The Empire Strikes Back. Like, this was the season or the seasons that really pushed the Bananas in like to the national spotlight. I mean, how cool was it to be involved with that?
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty cool. People always, it's funny anytime the Bananas do something relevant, which is like every other day at this point, and it's awesome to see. Everyone always reaches out and is like, "This is your team." Like, "Oh my gosh, Mr. Bananas!" Like, really, like, I can't take any credit, and I will never take any credit for what I'm doing right now. It's so cool. I have no relevancy. I mean, I spent an incredible summer down there. Had an absolute blast. I was able to, what I feel, really kind of put a little bit of groundwork onto their initial broadcast feed. I felt that I was able to help out a little bit there, but when I worked there, I always tell people the best part was the amount of creative freedom you have when you're there. It's like, basically, they're like, do something creative and we'll accept it. I mean, obviously, there's limits. You can't just do anything wild, but I never felt pressure that it was like, oh, I have to stay and be certain cookie cutter. This is how we do it. Well, you can't be this extreme one way or also make our loyalists mad. They're like, no, do whatever you think's normal and do the opposite. So it was so much fun, and it's so cool to see it all come to fruition now. And I really think it's because of the pandemic is why the Bananas have become relevant. It's because everybody was locked in their homes in 2020 on their phones, on social media, and the Bananas took it and ran with it. I mean, it was bound to happen. They've been doing it now, so I think this is going to be their 6th or 7th season.
Yeah.
They've been doing all this crazy stuff. It's just now that everything's truly on social media, they're taking advantage of and ran with it.
Oh yeah, like TikTok and stuff has really helped the Savannah Bananas and just that modern. And I'm showing your Twitter page on the screen right now, Brad.
Appreciate it.
Just so everybody can see it. If people want to give it a follow. But give me an example of one idea you came up with where you thought you come up with it at night when you're hanging out and you're just going, I don't think I should suggest this idea. And then give me an example of that where they actually said, yeah, let's do that from your season with the Bananas.
Oh my gosh. I mean, there's so much. What I can really remember was, and it's funny because I said they gave me so much creative freedom. It's not like I ever felt, ooh, I don't think they're going to go for this. It was like, oh, I can't wait to do this. But we ran back then we did a Facebook Live every non-game day throughout the week. And one of our better hits was we did one where we worked out with like one of the players in the gym for the hotel that was sponsoring the team. And that was a riot because he was just absolutely dominating me and my broadcast partner because we were kind of out of shape. And then another one of our popular ones, which is really fun, is one of the team's favorite players. He's a pitcher. His name's Alex Deed, and he pitches for Kentucky. He's like 6'8", huge guy, but everybody loves him because he danced. And we did a Facebook Live where like he did a teaching tutorial. At one point, it was towards the end of the season, and we were driving there. We needed to come up with an idea for Facebook Live, and I told my broadcast partner, I go, hey, let's do a masked singer in all the funky banana costumes that we can.
Yeah.
It's like, all right. I told the team that, and they're like, let's do it. That'll be absolutely spectacular. And they all loved it in there. So it was fun. There's so many to pinpoint. It's really hard to tell.
Yeah. I mean, I'm showing the videos right now of the Savannah Bananas on the screen. I just think it was, I like really cool experience. And I'm really happy that you were able to do that. I mean, I did the Northwoods League, and there's a lot of broadcasters that did different summer leagues. And I just think that how much fun you must have had. Really jealous of it. Like the Growlers.
Well, I'll say the last point on that. My favorite one, now that I'm replaying everything in my mind, was the team was loading up on the bus, and I was like, hey, let's just go live and film them getting on the bus. And I like interviewed every player, interviewed the ones on the bus, and they were just giving me all these random reactions. And I was asking, you're not stereotypical questions at all, like favorite gas station food, like what their top tunes are. Some guy went into the story how his family doesn't have a lot of cell data, so he can't really watch movies. Stuff like that. It's so relaxed. It's so fun. It was just a great time.
Yeah.
Can I mention something about the Bananas?
Wait, say that again, Clayton.
Right after Brad went there, And the fans were getting big. The Kansas State general manager was showing me videos of the bananas. I was like, oh, I had a friend that worked there, and like just trying to get stuff like that to happen here in Springfield. Hasn't really happened, but it's the thought that that you see another team doing and want to try to create the same type of atmosphere.
Yeah, I think it's there's a Brad. I think you're going to look back in 25 years, and I think the Bananas are going to be a lot more involved in the changing of the entertainment side of baseball, and I just think it's going to be a significant turning point. And I think there's going to be some of your highlight calls in those like documentaries they show about this team because they're legit geniuses down there. But I didn't bring you on just to talk about the Bananas. I brought you guys on to talk about the AFC North, and your Cleveland Browns, which I just got done saying are the biggest threat to the Cincinnati Bengals in the AFC North. And I predicted, and Brad, will start with you. I predicted, Brad, that you would say Browns are going to win the division. Am I right in that prediction?
No, not at all.
Oh,
I know. Well, trust me, I was listening to your whole Ravens talk, and you ended obviously by saying you genuinely believe the Browns will win the division. I don't think so. Yes, the Browns have all these weak players, but there's still so many questions. I mean, look where they were last year. It was almost in the same spot. Yes, quarterback play was a little bit going to be a concern going into the year. Baker obviously didn't play absolutely tremendously the year they went to the playoffs, but it was stability. So there was a lot of comfortability, and I thought it was clear. The Browns bringing pretty much everybody back. Yeah, they're going to get it done. And they didn't. And heading into this offseason, you bring in a new quarterback. Now, granted, off-field, I think this whole conversation, off-the-field stuff is just going to be outside of it. On the field, though, tremendous talent, MVP caliber talent in Deshaun Watson, but he's a new piece in a new offense. Bring in Amari Cooper, tremendous player. Yet again, a new piece. You're looking now, your new number one receiver is a new addition to the offense, which could be dynamite. It could be, don't get me wrong. Obviously, if you have Nick Chubb, offensive line's great. Defense, I think, is going to do nothing but improve this year. But I truly think there's no reason not to think the Bengals aren't the best team in this division.
yeah.
You proved it throughout the whole year last year. You improved that offensive line, have a pretty solid draft. I think without a doubt, the Bengals are going to be the best team in this division coming into this year. Just based purely that all said and done, the stability. There is really not a whole lot of question marks going into Cincinnati this year. Where Cleveland, there's some question marks. Is the quarterback going to work out? Is the new receiver going to work out? And then, like you said with the Ravens, the injuries.
Yeah.
They were really good last year, but are really these guys going to come back and do something? And then the X factor is Mike Tomlin and the Pittsburgh Steelers, because who knows how good they can be.
Oh, man. Browns fan Brad Walker says the Cincinnati Bengals are going to win the division. And I love it.
That's because if the Browns win, then I will be wrong, and they win the division. So it's a win-win.
It is a win-win. Well, I mean, you're wrong. I don't know if that's a win-win, but I guess it doesn't really matter if the Browns win the division.
Well, I meant wrong as in the Bengals won't win.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I guess. Whatever. You can hang on to it. Win-win either way. Clayton was probably like, Brad, A2 Brute. What are you doing, Brad? Brad,
I'm just being realist.
Clayton's like, oh, perfect. Lukas gave us the advantage. He gave us 2-on-1 in this debate. And then Brad is just like, nah, I'm out, man.
I'm not out. I think the Browns have a chance at a great season. There's just too many question marks. There's a new quarterback in town, a new number one receiver in town.
Yeah.
All I got to say is in the sink, I was going to pick Brad to a Browns team this year again. And yet, here we are.
Bengals fan Brad Walker. That's where we're at.
Whoa, all right now. All right. Let's not get ahead of ourselves.
Yeah, it's a real shame. All those people that have connections to Athens and know the high school and then are also Browns fans. It's been a real conundrum for all of y'all. And I think I include you in that group, Brad. You're familiar with the dog pound. That's the thing. I feel all of you. You're all very in the wind. Tyler Corbett, same thing, in the wind. Oh, Yeah, Joe Burrow's great. Bengals are great, and the rivalry's kind of lost that for you guys. It's more like a brain freeze, vanilla ice cream instead of like biting punches in the face. From those of you that have seen Athens and know how respected Joe Burrow is as a player, and it's kind of hard to sit there and doubt the kid. And so I really appreciate that from Brad and Clayton. I'm going to give you the opportunity to tell me, because I predicted that you would also say the Browns have won the division. But Clayton, since I've known you, which has been since the age of 8, 9, I don't know, long time ago, Clayton, literally every year of your life, you have been like, if the Browns are supposed to go 2-14, Clayton has looked at me and go, they're going 10-6. And if they're supposed to go like 6-10, he's looked at me, they're going 13-3, and they're winning the whole thing. And that has been Clayton's kind of like constant stance on the Browns. And I'm curious, Clayton, if you remain there. And I honestly wouldn't blame you. I just said they're the biggest threat in the division. I'm giving you the window of opportunity. What do you think about your Browns after the draft and free agency?
Well, within the draft, I really didn't see drafting at corner. First bit chance we had. So that was very interesting.
But are you going to win the division? Are you going to win the division?
No.
No? What the hell, guys? I brought you on to debate.
No.
But
We just killed Luke's podcast.
we make the playoffs, so we're fine there. We make the playoffs. But right now, the Bengals are more talented as of this moment.
Wow.
I think the Browns will give it. Do I think it'll come down to like a week 18 or you know what I mean, into the season, like dog fight? Yes, I do. But I think the Bengals have the edge right now. Obviously, after their tremendous season last season, and I just think there's too much they have going on right now to not have it go their way. Granted, they had a lot go their way last season, but this is the season where you look at it and are like, is it truly going to happen again this time? Is it truly going to happen again this time, or is do they falter? And I don't think they will. I don't.
Yeah, I think it's proven.
I don't think so.
I mean, I agree with you, Clayton. I think it's proven season, but I'm absolutely blown away. We've got the quote on the screen. We've got 2 Browns fans on the phone, and they both think the Bengals are going to win the division. And
Does that make you nervous?
No, because I think the Bengals are. I don't want to release my prediction yet, but like I think the Bengals are genuinely going to be the best team in football. And I've looked at it in terms of, because Brad, the argument I've made on the show, I don't know if you've heard a recent podcast. The argument I've made on the show is, if you take a look at NFL history and a team that has a certain profile. So the Bengals were 10-7 with 17th points allowed, 7th in points per game, with a 25-year-old quarterback in their prime. You go look at NFL history, what's the most comparable team to that team? Right? That's 2 years removed from having the number 1 overall pick. And it's the 1991 Dallas Cowboys. The 1991 Dallas Cowboys finished 17th in points allowed, 7th in points per game, identical to the Cincinnati Bengals. They finished with an 11-5 record, which if the Bengals play their starters week 18, maybe they get to 11 wins. They finished with 11-5 record, and they lost 38-6 in the divisional round to the Detroit Lions. Troy Aikman was 25, the same age as Joe Burrow, and was the number 1 overall pick because they were 2-14 2 years prior. Jimmy Johnson is also one of those similar profiles to Zach Taylor in terms of such a bad start to your career and then you elevate to higher levels. Michael Irvin is the Jamar Chase. Emmitt Smith is the Joe Mixon. Not saying that those players are that, but come on, we've really seen it. So what did the 92 Cowboys do? Well, they were undoubtedly the best team in football, and they walked to a Super Bowl, winning 52-17 against Jim Kelly and the Buffalo Bills. So when you look at the Bengals defense, who's the oldest player? 28 years old. When you look at the Bengals offense, who's the oldest player? I think it's going to come in on the offensive line at 29. The most important players are in points of their career that they'll make a jump. They just got a ton of playoff experience. And you guys know what Joe Burrow provides from a culture perspective. So this idea of a Super Bowl hangover, I just don't buy that crap. And we're seeing what the Suns are doing off of a championship hangover. And we're seeing time and time again in recent NFL history, it's been since the Panthers that the Super Bowl loser wasn't at least back in the playoffs the next year. Other than the 49ers, who were absolutely ravaged with injuries, which obviously could happen. So when you look at that, NFL history suggests that the 2022 Bengals are the 1992 Cowboys. And the 92 and 93 Cowboys won the Super Bowl. So when I look at that in NFL history, and then they have similarities to the 95-96 Packers, they have similarities to the Aaron Rodgers 2010 Packers team that then led to a 15-1 Packers team where Aaron Rodgers had a 120 passer rating. So when you just look through NFL history, the age, the contract structure, the level of quarterback play, the buildup, it all suggests a massive leap for the Bengals in 2022. And I was saying that, Brad and Clayton, I was saying that before the playoffs began. Before we even won a game, I said this is the jump that they should make. And the Super Bowl run doesn't really embolden me any. I think the playoffs are kind of fluky. But I just think this is going to be the best team in football. And the Super Bowl run gives it even more credibility, at least inside the building and inside the locker room. I think they're going to absolutely run through some teams this year. And
that's for the Browns. Joe Burrow clearly can't beat.
Yeah, which Joe Burrow can't beat the Browns still. So that's the difficulty.
You know, it's hilarious because I love to brag that the Browns have swept the Bengals last year. But to be fair, the last game they played of the season was like all second team.
Yeah. And if we beat...
Hey, we were at that game, Brad.
We were. And, I mean, the Browns were undefeated last year when I was in attendance. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, so, like, if you go through... Let's go through the Joe Burrow-Browns matchups and why you guys probably shouldn't relax about that stuff. Because you go to the Thursday night, which is Joe Burrow's second game played on a short week on Thursday Night Football. He throws 60 pass attempts, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, and hangs on in the game. And the Bengals defense was literally milquetoast. Got absolutely run through by the Browns offensive line because the running defense wasn't there yet. And they got absolutely ran through late in that game. But it was close, 35-30 final score. Joe Burrow, 60 pass attempts, 300 yards, 3 touchdowns. Then you go to the next game, and that's the Baker Mayfield doesn't throw an incompletion after OBJ tears his ACL. But Joe Burrow had 2 game-winning drives in that game, 400 yards. Was the best game of his career in his rookie season. At that point in his career, that was the best that Joe Burrow had looked against the Browns. Then you go to this year, and then you whipped us. And that's kind of the one that's hard to argue against. But if you look at that game, fellas, there was a pick six, a 99-yard pick six, which is a -11. So you're not going to get that every time. Nick Chubb broke like 6 tackles on a run for like a 65-yard run. Jamar Chase had a weird fumble in space. I think Joe Mixon had a fumble. So it was just as wrong as a game could go for a team, which fine, fair. You get to have it. And yes, I think the Browns are capable of doing that to the Bengals again if the Bengals shoot themselves in the foot. But it hasn't been Joe Burrow not being able to beat the Browns. It's kind of been more the circumstances of each of the games and the talent of the Browns beating the talent of the Bengals. It's not been Joe Burrow. So if the talent of the Bengals meets the moment, I think Joe Burrow will certainly be ready to meet that moment as well. So that doesn't really worry me. I think he'll get the first win against the Browns, but I think it's going to be a split. Do you guys think you're going to split the Bengals? Where are you at, Brad, in terms of how many times the Bengals will beat the Browns?
I don't know, because, like, the Browns are so weird. Like, when we talk about the Cincinnati game last year, the first one, it's like they were so up and down last year, and I just don't know with this team. Like I said, there's not too many question marks, but there is a couple question marks in very key areas that it's hard to tell what this team's going to do. Do we know how early in the season the Browns started off the Bengals at all yet?
No, that's next Thursday. We'll have that.
Okay, that's what I thought. So if it's early in the season, if the Browns play the Bengals before week 5, I think Cincinnati gets it. I think anywhere after week 10 or 11, Browns have the edge. If everybody can if everybody's clicking by then.
Yeah, I agree with that. I don't think you want to play the Bengals these first 5 weeks.
Now, what if we throw that first game in, and I've seen rumors it could be Thursday Night Football. How are we feeling then, guys?
Then Bengals all day. There's no
dude,
doubt.
like a week 2 Thursday night football game against the
Oh,
Browns at home.
No,
like
no, no.
Like that is death for Cleveland, because this
The
Bengals
Browns have a
team,
chance if it's in Cleveland. That's it.
this Bengals team might get worn down through the season. Maybe you can talk me into that. But like these first 5 weeks, they're going to be everything's going to be rolling. I mean, this is 2019 LSU. It's coming. It's coming for the league. This is what's about to happen. He's got 2 elite wide receivers, a third slot guy. It's the exact same makeup. They've got the offensive line average. The defense has playmakers. They're about to house some teams. And if you happen to be playing them in a week that everything goes right, they can beat any team in the NFL by 20 points. Any team in the NFL by 20 points. Name them.
Well, I think what I like most about the Bengals right now is how young legitimately they are. I mean, there's no guys in their career that it's like, all right, this is going to be the last 2 years of their prime. Like, this is a team that genuinely can be built up for the next 2 or 3 years to be running the table. And that's what makes it really exciting for Cincinnati.
Yeah, and I agree. They have the most elite potential of anybody in the division. Because of the outside weapons, because of Jamar Chase's ceiling. I mean, that's the thing, is if Jamar Chase wins the Triple Crown and T. Higgins follows it up with 1,400 yards, fellas, we're talking about 5,500 yards now. And like, this is 2013 Broncos stuff. Like, this is 2011 Packers stuff. This is some of the best offenses in NFL history stuff, if those statistical thresholds keep being met by the Bengals. Go ahead, Clayton.
So am I either I'm behind on this, or it's been out for a while, where they just released it the other day. They've announced who you're playing at home and who you're playing away.
Yeah.
Has that been a while, or is that just come out?
You know that, but as soon as the season ends, because the NFL does it with a formula. So,
but even the home and away.
Yeah, even the home and away.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Well, and you always play a division team at home and away.
Well, yeah, I know that. I was talking about the rest of the schedule.
Yeah,
but the Browns made it look like on Twitter yesterday it was news they were breaking. That's why I was asking.
Yeah, wait. So they have the schedule on Twitter? Let me pull that up. We'll go through it.
They have the home and away. They just have who they play at home, who they play away.
Yeah, no, that's okay though. I'll pull that up, and then we can talk about that, and then we can get you guys out of here, and we can end the live, because I've gone a long time, and I got some good content in. Basically, I'm just trying to play around with this StreamYard and see what we can get done with this.
Yeah, what's it called? StreamYard?
Yeah, StreamYard.
Okay.
Let's see here.
Can you do? So I'm assuming you can do like almost like a Zoom call type of thing too.
Yeah, I could add you guys on a video call as well. I mean, I just don't know if it's available on cell phones, which I don't want to type in the email.
Well, how do you do it? Would you normally do it then? Like on a laptop? Like, is it?
Yeah. So I'm on a laptop.
I'm on a laptop right now. Would we have to download a program, or how do you get your guests in? That's what I'm asking.
Well, why don't we? You know what? Why don't we find out? Nobody's even watching anyway, so let's find out. Okay.
Dude, I look like I got thrown out to the dog shed.
My hair looks terrible too, but I'm sitting on my back desk right now.
Well, it must be nice. It's raining in Northeast Ohio.
No, it's raining here too. It's not raining right now.
Clayton, I'm DMing you on Twitter through the Coney account the link.
Okay. Got it.
Brad, I'm going to do the same for you.
I'm nervous. I'm putting a hat on.
You don't have to.
Well, it's happening. Trust me. My hair looks terrible. Also, while we wait, since just to Phil, I guess, since people saw my Twitter and saw that Ricky Fowler's my background, tough round today for Ricky in case any golf fans are out there.
Hello. All right, I think I'm.
Are you on there?
Ready.
All right.
Yeah, I'm ready to join.
Brad, I just sent it to you. Hold on.
Are we hanging up the phone call?
No.
And roll with this?
We will do that if we figure it out here. Let me figure it out now. There you are. Oh boy. Yeah. Hang up. Oh, hang up the phone. Hang up the phone, Clayton.
Okay.
Wow. Look at that.
What? Sorry, I had you muted. I just turned you. What? Unmuted you. What?
Oh, it works like a FaceTime. And then you have Brad as well. Look at this, fellas. Now you got to line up because it's not exactly in the boxes.
Am I good? I think I'm center.
Yeah, you're centered.
Am I good? I think I look pretty.
Wow. Look at what we're accomplishing right now.
We should do like our own. What's that show? Around the Horn.
You can do around the horn. Like, it's perfect for it. Like, dum. All right, 3 a.m. Coney Live. Let's take a look at the Browns schedule. I'm going to pull it up on the Twitter. And then you tell me if you guys can see when I pull stuff up.
Okay.
On the Twitter.
Yeah.
We'll take a look at the Browns schedule. We'll talk about that. But this is basically, if there's any Coney fans, and what's unfortunate is I'm going to take this whole thing and jam it on Spotify, and somebody's going to think it's a normal podcast where I'm ranting, and then they're going to see me messing around on a streaming platform for half an hour and adding guys to video. But that's fine. Is Luka? No. I was wondering, like, why is Luka Doncic on the Browns feed?
It could be.
Man, it's been a long time
Luka
since
is
they.
tweeting.
Hey, and one. Well, at that time the Browns. Hey, huge pickup in the draft, drafting a kicker early in the draft. I mean,
Is it? Is it? No, hold on. This is something I want to talk about.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Fourth round, guys. The Bengals got criticized for the 5th round. Now, this guy just happens to be on a Super Bowl team, and everybody's going to hop on and be like, hey, that was a good decision. And now we're going to up it a round and draft Cade York out of the 4th. Who Cade York's not the same kicker that Evan McPherson is. It's just not the same.
Was.
Well, but that's like
58-yarder in the fog to win the game. Get out of here. Get him on the
Are
team.
you aware that? Oh,
Oh,
I
can
like
you see
that.
it?
Yeah.
There you go. There you go. The Browns 2022 opponents. So how many of these games is Cade York going to lose for the Cleveland Browns?
Okay. All right.
How
Now
many
we're
of these games
throwing
is Cade
shade.
York
This
going
is
to
what Lucas wants.
wide left?
Can't even. You guys haven't even beat us in the last 2 years. That's it. I'm done. I'm done being nice about the Bengals.
I got you on tape right now for 25 minutes just predicting the Bengals to win the division. I got a quote right here. Pop it on the screen. Bengals have the edge.
You do, but I don't understand why we're just now throwing slander at the Browns.
Well, the Cade York stuff is just funny because it's a kicker and you never know. I have said, though, that I am worried about Evan McPherson. He had that weird halftime thing, and kickers are sometimes. I think Evan McPherson's good. I think he's good. I'm sure he's good. I'm sure he's fine. But,
well,
sometimes you
Lucas,
miss a few
I have to
goals.
say, because he was out and he watched the halftime show, like at the Super Bowl, right?
Yeah, that was not good for our coach.
I was going to say, like, well, what do you think about that? And
I
I apologize if you talked about this on a previous pod.
No, I don't care. I don't care. I'm not going to sit here and care about it. But I do kind of like Darren Simmons because Evan's head might have got a little big, kind of poking him and saying, he wasn't very good on kickoffs because he wasn't, and saying all these things of kind of trying to get him, hey, you still got work to do. And that's kind of got to be the attitude for the Cincinnati Bengals is, hey, you will still have work to do. You still have things to prove because they do. And I don't want to even talk about playoffs or the Super Bowl with the Bengals this year. I mean, I'm sure I'll predict them to win it. But at the same time, it's about the damn division. And that's why we're looking at the Browns schedule. That's why we're talking the division because it's about the AFC North. This division hasn't had a back-to-back champion in a very long time. In fact, when is the last time it had a back-to-back champion? Has it never happened?
It's gotta be the Steelers. I mean, if I'm thinking recency, it's gotta be the Steelers.
I'm pulling it up.
Probably Steelers, maybe like 07, 08. Or
Clayton, what's your guess?
Honestly, I have no guess. I just have something I really want to point out that I saw yesterday on Twitter, and it's back to the kicker thing. The Browns last year, kickers against the Browns were 26 of 27, the highest allowed in the NFL. And Justin Tucker and Evan McPherson, the two best kickers in the AFC North, were only 7 of those 26 kicks. And no kicks were missed at First Energy Stadium last year by opposing kickers. Obviously, you'd expect some misses potentially maybe this year. I hope teams aren't going to come in here and make 96.3% of it.
Wait, Are you banking on more misses from the
I'm
opposing?
banking on I'm banking on more. I'm
Last
banking
year's
on
a
more,
fluke.
more misses. No,
Okay.
I'm not saying from
All right,
like
listen, let's
from
talk.
those
Listen,
two.
let me first establish that there have been many back-to-back winners of the AFC North. It's 18-19 Ravens, 16-17 Steelers, 12-11 Ravens, 07-08 Brad Steelers. Good job. And then that's it.
Wow, I
Bengals.
forgot that the Ravens won back to back. I thought they
Yeah.
were like a wild card in 17 with Lamar.
No, that was 18, and they were in the wild card, but they hosted that game against the Chargers.
I know that they were. I meant like actually didn't win the division, like got in
yeah,
as a wild card team.
yeah, of course. Now I'm looking for the Browns on this. It's like they've never won the division. Oh, never.
Aren't you
Okay.
funny?
Oh, that's interesting. Let's see.
You ain't
Last,
fair.
2-0 against the division champs last year. That's something to hang your hat on.
well,
That
yep,
is
that is something for sure. That is
That's like
something
it's so fun that we have that little thing. Like it's not we didn't have a lot last
for
year.
the
but that's
rest of
like
our
a little-
lives. You'll be like,
That's
yeah,
a fun little thing.
I know. That's why when I was kind of ticked off when I watched them lose that meaningless game, because I was like, man, they're just going to hold that. We'll be talking about the 2021 season in 15 years, and they'll be like, oh, we swept you that year. Like,
Sure did.
do you
Yeah.
know Zach Taylor is the only Bengals coach to not be fired immediately after being swept by the Browns, and he's the only guy, and he's done it twice. Twice.
wow,
He's-
that's funny.
Every other Bengals coach that got swept by the Browns was fired that season.
Oh, Lucas, you could have pulled up my picture of me and Zach Taylor hanging out.
Oh, DM that to the Coney.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, DM that to the Coney. Let's see if I.
Okay. Brown's schedule. Can we please take a look at this thing?
Yeah,
talk
I've
about
been
it.
ready the last 15 minutes.
Yeah, I know. I have been too. Okay. Out of this schedule here, Brad,
Oh,
take a look at the home teams. Yeah, I,
Fancy.
I mean, it's a computer, Clayton.
Technology. Whoa. Holy cow.
All right. Out of these home teams.
Yeah.
I mean, this is how I like to do schedule predictions. You go guaranteed wins, guaranteed losses, and then you go 50-50s or 60-40s, 70-30s. Okay. So if it's like 80% we're going to win, say it's a guaranteed win. 20% you're going to win, it's a guaranteed loss.
Yeah.
The home games. Take me through it.
So I'm looking immediately at the Bengals. I'm saying guarantee. I just don't like what a lot the Ravens. Did I say Bengals? I don't know. My mind's all over the place.
Ravens. So you guarantee win against the Ravens at home.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the Browns will be able to figure out Lamar. Bengals 50-50. I think that's a given.
Okay. Toss up. So
Toss
1-0.
Toss up with the Chargers.
Okay.
Herbert scares me.
Belichick.
Honestly, this is another dependent on what time of the year we play the Patriots, but I'm gonna go guaranteed loss here. Just because it just
plan on
feels like
going to that game.
Bill Belichick always has the Browns numbered, much like he does a lot of the teams in the league. Saints guaranteed win. Don't really know what's going on in NOLA. Guaranteed win with the Jets. Jets will be exciting this year. I think they'll have blemishes, I should say. But and honestly, 50-50 with the Steelers and guaranteed win against the Bucks. How do you like that one, ladies and gentlemen? That's my like hot take out of all of the predictions there. Is I don't like the Bucks too much this year. I think too much chaos going on in that organization. Aside from having the GOAT.
That was a very interesting guarantee because the way I would go with it is guaranteed wins for the Browns out of this, the home games. I'll give you the Jets. I'll give you the Saints. I think that's 2. And I think the Patriots. I think that's an easy win. I think the Patriots are being way
Well,
overrated.
they smoked us last year in New England.
Okay, but now it's in Cleveland, and you got Deshaun Watson.
Deshaun
Watson, who cannot – Nick Saban, Bill Belichick, like the same dude. Nick Saban couldn't just stop Deshaun. Bill has nightmares about quarterbacks like Deshaun. You'll be fine. You'll beat the Patriots. Don't worry about it. So that's 3 guaranteed wins. And then I think the rest of those are 50-50. I'll give you them all 50-50. So that's 3 wins on the road at home. And then I'll just do mine because, Brad, you had like 3 as well. So on the road, Falcons, yes. Texans, sure.
It's hope.
So Panthers, yes, that's 6. 6 guaranteed. Washington, that's 7. And then the rest are 50-50.
You don't think the Dolphins is guaranteed?
No. No.
With
Wow.
with all the chaos in their organization as well? You think
I don't like there's
Mike
just
McDaniels is the guy?
I think Tua has been very professional through all this BS. And I think that they're committing to him. And I think Mike McDaniels got this happy-go-lucky thing that's going to work weirdly. I don't know how long, but it's going to work. And I think the Dolphins are going to be really competitive. And I think the Dolphins are going to be able to win a lot of games. And so I think that's a 50-50 game for you. I think that they're a talented team. And I think that you got Tyreek Hill. What if Denzel Ward pulls his calf that week? Now you're going to definitely get beat by the Dolphins. So it's like when you're in that territory, and I trust their quarterback play some, I think that's a 50-50 game. I really like Davis Mills, so you're lucky I'm giving you the Texans win. So that's 6 guaranteed wins,
Wow.
11 50-50 games, no guaranteed losses. So that's a good place to be in, to have no guaranteed losses. So it's what do you do with the other 11 games?
So
let's say we split.
I don't know. I think Bengals on the road is almost a guaranteed loss for us.
So then let's say you split the division 3-3, or do you think you're going to sweep one of the teams in the division?
I think sweep the Steelers.
Okay, so 4-2 in the division. So you go 6 wins. Now you're at 10 wins. So now you're getting a range, right? So I'd say 9-win floor for the Browns. I agree with that.
Yeah, I like that.
9-win floor, and then up to 12, 13 win ceiling. I think
so.
With this schedule, because
I mean, the home schedule, legitimately, a good chance the Browns only lose 1, maybe 2 games at home. I mean, I'm serious about that.
I mean,
Okay,
you're looking at it.
Which are you thinking?
For losses,
Yeah.
I think to come in, Bengals would be a team that legitimately could beat us, and the Pats could legitimately beat us.
Okay,
The Bucks and the Chargers. But here's the thing, is that I also can see this completely going off the rails. Deshaun's not exactly a winner. A lot of these teams on this schedule being better than we think they are. And
Can I give my opinion on one of these?
I'm worried. I don't know, Clayton. I'm worried.
Lucas, that's why I told you the Browns are not your biggest threat this year. Or not necessarily, you might be the biggest threat, but won't win the division this year.
I don't know. Clayton, what do you think?
I think out of home games, I think Ravens, Bengals, I'm going to go Chargers, which the reason I say Chargers is we're redemption on last year. Should have won that game. It was a
so you're guaranteeing
Big 12 game.
You're guaranteeing these. Okay.
I'm guaranteeing those 3. Jets, I'd almost guarantee 2. So that'd be 4. Four guarantees and then 4 possiblies. New England scares me more than the Saints. New England scares me.
So you're at 4.
Yeah, 4. We'll go 4.
All right. So on the away, we have Panthers.
Guaranteed wins, the Washington Commanders, the Miami Dolphins, the Houston Texans, and I'll go with the Panthers.
4 again. So it's
4,
8?
Yeah, I'll go 4 and 4.
8 guaranteed wins.
8 guaranteed wins. Ooh. Which is near the floor, which you put it at 9.
Yeah. But I don't like floor to me is like a 20% floor. So the 0% floor is 6 and 11. Mm-hmm. Like that's like as low as you can convince me as Clayton has semis driving past his house. But like that's as low as you could convince me to go. Well, I think got you guys out of here. Now let's go. This view's the best, the round the horn view.
It is. I just got to center myself.
Yeah. To me, guys, I think I think you're going to end up, these are not official predictions, but I think you're going to end up 10-11 wins, second in the division, wild card team on the road in the playoffs against an elite quarterback. And it's going to be about Deshaun stepping up in that game and winning in the playoffs. And I think that's what's going to define the season. I think that's a really fair evaluation of the Browns, because if you could guarantee me the offensive line is number one in the league, then I'm feeling even more comfortable. I can push it to where Clayton's pushing it.
Yeah.
But you can't guarantee me that when you lose J.C. Tretter and you're doing a little bit of shuffling up there. So it's not.
And what scares me about the offensive line, too, aside from losing center, is Conklin. We don't know how he's going to be coming off injury as well. And Jedrick has not been necessarily a standout at left tackle. So I don't think this offensive line is as standout as people may think coming into this year.
Yeah, which is a soft concern. I don't think it's a concern. I don't
No.
think it's going to be bad. But it's a soft concern that it's not going to be elite.
Like they were in 2020 almost.
Like it is on the table this year. Probably not going to happen, but it's on the table that the Bengals have a better offensive line than the Browns this year. That's on the table because of the amount of additions the Bengals made. So if all those guys peak, if they hit on every free agent and they hit on the draft pick they made this year, Bengals have a top 10 unit. Browns deal with a weird injury. The center transition isn't as smooth, and they finish like 11 to 12, and they kind of are passing ships in the wind. That's certainly possible too. Wide receivers, though, we haven't really mentioned Amari Cooper. I mean, are you guys excited for Amari Cooper?
I love it.
What's the ceiling for him statistically? Like, what do you think he can accomplish, Clayton?
1,200 yards, 6 touchdowns.
6 touchdowns? I hope he has more than that. I don't know. Where should we draft Amari Cooper in fantasy?
Stefanski's offense, I think you're still middle high round just because of Stefanski's offense, where receivers aren't necessarily the focal point. I think David Njoku is going to have a huge year because Stefanski loves.
Well, was that Stefanski's offense or was that Baker Mayfield's offense?
That's a good point, but that's why I don't know with this team still. This all goes back to this team still got a little bit of question marks. But I think Cooper's going to have a great year.
Hold on, guys. I'm getting a random phone call. I think it'll be funny to answer. I don't know who it is. Let's find out.
Let's see.
Hello?
There.
Hey, this is Lukas. Who's calling?
Hi, this is Glenn calling for the Police and Trooper Support. Our mission is to seek police training improvement as well as to advocate for a death and disability fund for those officers killed or injured on the job with the passage of better laws. As a PAC, we're asking you to help us select people that will back the men and women in blue and effectively handle these issues. If we were to send you an envelope, would you show your support with a one-time donation?
No, I can't afford it. I'm getting married in a month, and I'm barely able to afford that. I'm sorry. I really respect the police and all the work they do, and I really hate hanging up on you.
Lucas, I literally thought I got so nervous before. I was be like, "This is the police department. We're investigating." So I was like, "Oh no, what did you do?"
This is actually fun. I'd be like, "Well, I'm going to go viral for something." You know, this is how. That was an adventure. That was because I thought that too, Brad. I was like, police. The police.
You're so excited. You're like, "Oh, this would be funny." It's a random person number, and then it's hello.
Okay, this is something fun I want to do. I want to cut loose, final 20 minutes, because something funny might happen. Who should I call randomly that we all know?
That's a tough question.
Oh, that's a real tough question. I feel like we should think about this for a few minutes and then just randomly, when it comes to you, you just say it.
I think Russ Heltman, is he available at this hour of the day?
I
mean, that's gonna
get his thoughts on the Hornets' new head coaching surge.
Mm.
Or the Reds. I mean, but hey, fun fact, Brad, I've been watching the Guardians. They're fun to watch. Not gonna lie.
They are a really good team. They're streaky.
I'm a big Miles Straw guy. I like Miles Straw.
Stephen Kwan, Rookie of the Year.
Yes. I honestly was looking for Paul Ross, Stephen Kwan tweet last night, and there wasn't one. I thought he worried me for a second there.
No.
I was waiting for it. Like I'm like, oh, he just had this big, go ahead hit, and I was like, where's he at?
How about Max?
That was my second.
Is he in Houston?
Well, let's call him.
That's only 115 there, right?
Voicemail.
He's definitely not going to pick up. He never answers on the first call.
Guardians, though, their pitching scares me this year. I will say that. And
Brian Shaw.
Yeah. Well, relief is and then aside from Bieber and what's the second guy's name?
Aaron
Chucks.
Savelli last night looked good.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, the breaking ball was working.
Yeah. Other than Bieber and Quantrill, I'm not a fan of not a huge putting my money on this staff right now, and especially the lower parts of the order. After the 6th spot, it's just doomed.
Yeah, no,
Shaping
I
up
don't
as maybe a wild card berth, I think, for the guards this season.
which
Jose
would be a good
Ramirez,
accomplishment.
that's the deal.
Wait, is that what we're calling them? Is that what we're calling them? The guards?
I like short. I always like shortening things, make it easier. You're lucky I don't call you
Ian.
Luke, Lucas.
How about Ian's? How about the Ians?
The Ians.
Ian's?
This reminds
It's
me of like
kinda
we're the
Kinda
Ian
close.
Kindlers.
Kind of close to what it used to be, which I'm not allowed to say. I guess I'm not allowed to say it.
I don't know.
I don't
The guards, that's just like kind of fun. Like we're guard up. I don't know. All right, I would say the Guardians.
I almost bought a couple Guardian shirts last night, actually, guys. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, I knew it happened. Everybody was all angry, and it takes just watching a few baseball games, and they're like, "Oh, it's actually pretty cool." Like, the Commanders.
I like the logo. Everybody dogs the logo. I actually like the logo. I like it. Like, I know it looks. I don't know. I'm a big fan of the logo. I honestly, I thought about buying one of the. I had thought about it. I'm not, but I thought about the red jerseys. I like those. Those are my favorites.
Russ Heltman's unavailable. Pretty much everybody's unavailable.
Okay.
It's the middle of a Friday. A lot of people.
Anybody?
We're
was in the middle of cleaning my
doing
room.
a live stream
Hey,
that
give
nobody's
a ring.
watching. We're doing it, and nobody's watching it, and nobody is watching it all, but they'll watch back later. So that's the
Hey,
point.
if you want to give a ring here, I say you give a call to our pal Luke Steiner. I know he is done with all of his classes. Just finished up his 3rd degree now. There's no way he's doing anything.
Yeah,
Yes.
3-degree Luke. 3-degree Luke.
Well, unless there's something
Hey, when he
that
answered,
you
we
could
gotta
be
say
with like
3-degree
baseball
Luke.
team or something. What?
When he answered, we gotta say 3-degree Luke.
3-degree Luke. 3 times. Not 1. Not 2. Lucas, when's the last time you like actually like called Luke? Like he might be like, "What is this?"
It's been a long time. I'm not a great friend. I will admit.
Wait.
Well, it's just one thing. Calls are so like very uncommon nowadays. So,
I know it's a shame.
with texting being, he's gonna have such a professional voicemail too. It's like, "Hi, this is Luke Steiner. Sorry, I could not reach
Your
the
call
phone."
has been forwarded.
Oh,
Man, no one likes us.
that was disappointing.
it's not-
So I clicked on the YouTube thing and I was like, why are we all behind? Like, why is my voice not matching what I'm saying right now?
Because
I
it's
went
not
to the-
immediate, Clayton. It's a live.
I know
stream.
I went to the
It's
wrong
going
screen.
to
That's what I
the
meant. I didn't mean to. I hit the wrong screen. I'm like, wait, what is happening right now? But yeah. Oh, I sent you that picture, by the way, Lucas.
Oh, you did?
I did. Yeah, 3 a.m. Tony.
Okay, I'm gonna pull that up, Clayton, with Coach Taylor, and then we're probably gonna be done.
I thought we had 18 minutes. I thought we were going 2 hours.
You
Man,
want me to get to 2 hours? Okay.
Nice
fine.
round number. Nice
We
round
got
number.
golf
guys.
talk. We can talk golf.
I'm not talking golf. You guys tried to go in the Guardians.
Can
I'm
we
not
talk
talking
baseball?
Guardians either.
Let's talk. We've been trying to talk about the Reds.
This is a Cincinnati sports podcast. The baseball right now, baseball is off the table. Okay, baseball is off the table in the city of Cincinnati, fellas. Baseball doesn't exist anymore. It's not a thing.
I'm
We don't,
I
we
thought
don't talk about it.
my life's so pathetic. I thought about going
It's-
to a Red game this weekend.
Listen, Mike Moustakas forgot how to play third base. on what planet, Mike? On what planet does the third baseman not take that ball? You think the catcher coming over, turn around like this, running towards the dugout, supposed to catch that when you're
Yes.
almost under the thing? I don't like. And guess what? It's not his fault. It's Phil Castellini's, because when an owner says we can't compete, we don't have the means. Where are you going to go? You know what? Whatever. Just have some faith in what we're doing here, and just stabs the team right in the back. Then the whole team's going to suck, because baseball. Listen, we've all worked in baseball. Clayton has worked in summer collegiate baseball, been around teams, been around guys. Brad's worked in multiple summer collegiate leagues. I've worked in multiple summer collegiate leagues, and we can all tell you baseball is a vibes game, right? The mood of the team, the mood of the pitcher, the camaraderie, all those things matter. They matter significantly in a sport that's that damn boring, to be honest with you. And it's a sport I love. When you're standing around, you got a lot of time to think, right? And if things aren't going well, it's a lot of time to build up negative emotion. And so we are not going to talk about baseball, which you just made me talk about for a whole 2 minutes. I mean, Clayton, are you going to go give these fruit distributors money? Is that really what you're going to go do?
No, to be fair, actually, once I thought about it, I thought about going to a Guardians game. Brad, you want to go to the Guardians game tomorrow?
Can't.
Oh,
Gotta work.
Man. Hey, there I am.
Hey, Clayton knows Zach Taylor.
Yeah, man, we
that's
close.
a picture of a guy who can't beat the Cleveland Browns. 0-4, baby. You tell him that, Clayton. You say,
No,
"Hey, coach, hell of the season."
This
But
picture was from.
Cleveland still got your number.
What year was he hired? What year was he hired?
Zach Taylor. Listen, guys. Zach Taylor's 1-5 against the Browns. Remember, he beat Freddie Kitchens in Week 17. Yes, yes, that counts. Remember, the Bengals were 1-14. 1-14.
Oh yeah, I remember that game now.
Yeah, and we already had Joe Burrow in the bag, and then we just beat you guys up for fun. That was great. I really loved it. That's the last time.
That game was so sad too, because like the Browns were already out of it, but Baker was still playing, Jarvis was still playing, Odell was playing. I think Chubb was in the game. That was sad. That was just a sad game. So
Clayton, tell us the story around this picture, please.
Okay, so this picture was taken in 2018, I believe. Or 2019, one of those two, at Kentucky Motor Speedway when NASCAR used to race there. And yeah, that I had me and my cousin Horton bought pit passes, and yeah, we just literally I was the only one that went on pit road really because he stayed and guarded our stuff to make sure no one tried to steal any of our beers.
That's important. And so, what did you say to Zach Taylor when you met him?
I said, I'm a Browns fan, but nice to meet you.
And then this picture was what year again?
2019, I want to say.
Yeah, this was after his 2-14 year.
Yeah, so this is it. This is it. But I want to say that, he was a nice guy, and I was walking off of pit road. Like, this is after he'd already did the introduction, doesn't say anything, but they introduced him, he waves to the crowd, all that fun stuff. And he's just casually walking back on pit road, and I walked next to him. I was like, "Hey, can we get a picture together?" He's like, "Sure." And I'm like, "I'm a Browns fan. I'm not gonna lie." I was like, "I'm not gonna lie, I'm a Browns fan." But here we go.
What a nice man.
That's awesome.
What a nice man. I love Twitter.
So, Lucas, I have a question for you.
Yes.
What point do you think last year Zach Taylor became like very recognizable on the street in the streets of Cincinnati, like to the point where the first playoff win?
Yeah. The first the first playoff win was when the season could have ended. If you would have shut down the NFL on the next Monday, Bengals fans have been like, great, even better. Don't have to deal with any sadness. This is incredible. This is the greatest I've ever felt as a sports fan. This entire season, the entire Bengals franchise has been completely centered around winning one playoff game. Okay? One. That's what this entire thing has been about for the Cincinnati Bengals. Winning one playoff game. Since I remember, it wasn't about it so much in 2013 when they played the Chargers. It was kind of hanging there. That third straight playoff appearance. Hey, Andy Dalton's lost the last two. Oh, holy crap. We haven't won one since 91. That's kind of been a really long time. It's the longest streak in the league. Like, it was hanging there. But it wasn't poignant until Andy Dalton dives forward with the football and fumbles it and hits his own face, and the ball pops up in the air, and they lose that playoff game. And the next year, all everybody would talk about is the playoff streak over and over and over and over again. Mm-hmm. And from that moment on, as a fan, it was just about winning one damn playoff game. Nothing else. You didn't think about Super Bowls. You didn't think about conference champion. Like Browns fans have been talking Super Bowl every year of my life. Because when you're not getting even to the playoffs, you're like, well, if we get in, we can win. While Bengals fans were anchored down with this idea of, well, we can get in, but holy crap, we can't win one game. So when this Bengals team got good enough, I almost had anxiety that they were going to make it before they were ready to win a game. And I said, I don't want this tied to Joe and tied to Jamar, this dumbass bull crap Bo Jackson stuff and curse. And so that win was significantly, it changed the entire organization. It changed every person in the stadium. It changed every Bengals fan forever. That game and that moment of Jermaine Pratt intercepting the ball. And I think that momentum is what juiced the Super Bowl run. And I think that momentum is what's going to completely – the Saints used to be the Aints. Then they were the most competent organization, one of the most for 15 years. That's what you're about to see. The Bengals are going to be relevant, competitive, playoff, Super Bowl contender for the next 15 years. So that's what that playoff win meant. So for me, that's when Zach Taylor, Brad, became a significant figure in the city because that he did it. He did it. He did this thing that we couldn't even fathom doing. And he was the one that did it along with Joe and everybody. And that was the changing moment for me.
And that's why I don't understand like why everybody's so gung ho that the Bengals won't be or have this hangover. It's like what about last year like led you to that? Like, yeah, they had the significant run. Nobody really expected it, but it's not like they barely scraped into the playoffs, barely scraped out wins, get in. Well, I mean, the AFC Championship was obviously technically a scrape because it won very late, but it's not like it was. You guys had a terrible kind of regular season. Like you had a great regular season, really solid first win, and then you beat the Chiefs in Kansas City. It's like I don't get what formula people have that's like, oh, it's going to be a hungover. It's like, did you not see what Joe Burrow did with Jamar Chase? They've done nothing but improve this team. In my opinion, there's no way there's any kind of step back this year.
Yeah, it would be very against whatever the Joe Burrow culture and idea of that culture is. As let's take a look at Baker Mayfield's highlight tape from this year.
I got a bad feeling this is the low light tape.
No, it's the highlight tape.
It's
just a bunch of screens.
So we're going to show the preseason game.
Is this the preseason?
Yeah, this is the preseason game against the Falcons. The last.
This is on his highlight tape.
Probably because it's one of the few.
Look, it's play action, roll out.
We cut this guy. That's Hodges. We cut him, and he was on the Lions this year.
Yeah, that Lions team is going to be interesting. That's for sure.
Yeah,
Clayton,
that's why
because Clayton challenged me to get to 2 hours. That's why we're wasting time doing this. I don't want to be on anymore.
This is good. I'm liking it. I mean, I'm not. You know,
the end of the Kansas City game was not Baker's fault. He got hit. That's why he threw the pick.
Play action. But look, guys, this is ridiculous. This is a walk-in touchdown, and this is on his highlight tape. Guys, this is a play action. Look, inside receiver, I can't really point at it, but the receiver on the bottom of the screen, the safety is bit down. They are thinking all run. This is, I guarantee, this is open as soon as he plants his foot. And watch this.
Well, he already beat the corner.
Throw it, Baker.
And the safety, the safety was in, so he's probably got the safety beat right when the throw is released.
Yeah, he needs to throw it towards the numbers. So here's my little arrow. He needs to throw it out here and away from this safety that's over the top. And look, hitch, throws it late, and just wastes the play. This should have hit him right here, and it should have been a walk-in touchdown. And this is what I've always annoyed me about Baker is he made the hard things look easy and the easy things look hard. And those guys never have a lot of success in the NFL. Like, just throw it. There's so many hitches and uncertainty, especially this last season. Like, you guys really dodged a bullet that you didn't sign this guy to a long-term contract because he cannot beat Joe Burrow consistently over the next 10, 15 years. Or Lamar. But Deshaun can, and we saw that with the quarterback spreadsheet. And it's like this is fine. He's an NFL starter. He's a fine player, but
quarterback spreadsheet elite. I loved every second of looking at that little list, by the way.
Oh, did you? Nice.
Yeah, that was when you were saying you're going to bring it up. I was like, all right, this ought to be interesting. It's probably just going to be how Andy Dalton. You probably pulled some wild stats. How Andy Dalton's 1,000 times better than Eli Manning on a 67-degree day with slight wind. And then next thing you know, you're like, Eli Manning is a Hall of Famer. I was like, look at the piece of humble pie Lukas served himself.
Yeah, well, I had to do the formula. I mean,
because when I was in that radio station, that studio, the amount of heat coming off of you when you were going over this, I was like, there is no way ever anyone's going to tell this guy different. And then you told
for the
yourself,
Eli Manning thing? Yeah, then I told myself. I'm the only guy that could have told myself that it shouldn't be Eli Manning. You guys
I would have loved to be like when you finally got the formulas, you plugged everything in, pressed enter, and then you probably scrolled all excitedly. You're like, oh, here we go. And then I would have loved to see your face when it was like, oh.
No, so it was more gradual than that because I'd had the formula and I did like the top 10 just to make sure it was close. And I was like, okay, so they're in the right order. Brady, Manning, Montana, Favre, Breeze, Rodgers. They're in the right order. And then I put Eli Manning in to see how he compared. And I saw he was at, let's find Eli. Here's Eli. 213 points. 14 seasons, 31st on the list. I put 213. I said, that's pretty high. That's a high score. And so then I started doing all the other Hall of Famers. And I started picking the low Hall of Famers, and I knew Joe Namath was a lower Hall of Famer with the way I did the formula, and he was below Eli Manning, and that's when I knew I was screwed. That's when I knew I was like, uh-oh. I said, and that's like a 14-point difference. And then Warren Moon came in under him. And so this, I could still argue that he's not, but I'm not going to, because then it would devalue all this work I did. Because he's down here with Daryl LaMonica and Joe Theismann, and he's below John Brody, who didn't get in, and he's below Ken Anderson, who didn't get in. I can sit here and make the argument. And his contemporary comparison, Phillip Rivers, is way ahead of him on the spreadsheet, despite never winning a Super Bowl. So I could sit here and I could make the argument, but I'm not going to, because I really do believe that if you finish with 200 points on this spreadsheet, you should be in the damn Hall of Fame as a quarterback. That's the top 35. Like top 35 to me over a 50-year period that's fair, isn't it, fellas?
Yeah, no, I think it's. I thought he would just barely would get in just because he led 2 Super Bowl teams. He was pretty good in the playoffs. And he's the Brady killer.
Yeah, but also he's performed so well in these playoff games. So this stat right here is playoff games with 100+ passer rating, right? And this is so interesting because Tom Brady has 19 in the most. Peyton Manning only has 6. So if we sort by this, which I can do, just give me a second here. I can sort. And then if you guys are curious, I can sort by a bunch of stuff. Is this interesting or no?
Yeah,
I find it interesting, but I'm a nerd when it comes to, because I like having the numbers back up quarterback play. Because I don't like when people just purely argue, oh, well, he's just a leader. He was a coach. It's like, that's embarrassing.
Yeah, but what's nice about this is those things like leadership, they come through in winning games. So that's where you get your credit for that. Let's see.
But also, it looks like it's very favorable for a guy like Dan Marino, who wasn't necessarily the most winningest quarterback in the NFL, but threw for a ton of yards.
So let's sort by playoff games with 100+ passer rating. So if we sort by that and we go to the top of the list, here's your rankings.
Okay.
Also, if you're listening to this, subscribe to Lucas's YouTube, Twitter, all this, so you can actually watch all this stuff.
Yeah. Well, on Spotify now we've got video, Brad. So,
you have video on Spotify?
Yeah, I got video on Spotify. We're rolling, fellas. I know nobody's watching, but we're rolling. Okay. Guys, I'll just keep beating my head on the door until it breaks down. It's fine. Joe Montana, 2nd. Brett Favre, 3rd. The only guys with double digits. Now, this is where the Rodgers playoff narrative, and I'm a part of that, it really gets hurt because he's here with Brett Favre, Joe Montana, and Tom Brady, the only guys with double-digit playoff games with over 100 passer rating. So he's 4th all time in that stat. He's above Troy Aikman, Drew Brees, Terry Bradshaw's 4 Super Bowls, Roger Staubach, Patrick Mahomes. But look at Patrick Mahomes.
You
Patrick
got Joe
Mahomes.
Flacco as a. Oh,
No.
he's still in the league. Okay, that's right. I forgot the color scheme for a second.
Yeah, Joe Flacco's still in the league. And again, Joe Flacco's not the 13th greatest quarterback all time. We have it sorted by this stat right here.
Yeah, I know. I just for some reason I thought that green meant Hall of Fame, but then I realized it was active.
But look, Peyton Manning is like tied with Joe Flacco. And Peyton Manning was in the playoffs a lot. Like he had a lot of opportunities to get more than 6. In fact, out of playoff berths, so if we look at this list and we go to playoff berths, Peyton Manning is at 15. And all these other guys around him are at 7, 6, 4, 10, 9, 10, 7, 8. So if you want to talk about which all-time quarterback out of my top 5, which Rodgers is in the top 5, which all-time quarterback has struggled the most in the playoffs? Rodgers is 6. It's Peyton Manning. I mean, Peyton Manning might be the most underperforming playoff performer compared to his regular season performances in any sport ever. Like maybe Tracy McGrady because he never won a series. Like,
and before you even pulled up this list, I had that thought because I mean, growing up, I was pretty much still a kid when Peyton Manning was elite. I never really remember him winning a ton of stuff in the playoffs as it is.
Yeah, I mean, he has his playoff moments, and on the spreadsheet, he's at 719 points. And if you look at here, I can pull this up. Well, no, I'm not going to pull that up. I have some article stuff written. I don't want to show that too early. But if you look at Peyton Manning, and if I went through and I changed the results of those early Patriots-Colts games, they flip the greatest quarterback of all time. They flip it. That's how close Peyton Manning is to Tom Brady. And that's how far away those two are from the rest of the spreadsheet. Now, the stat I give, guys, Tom Brady is so dominant in this spreadsheet. The difference in points between Brady and Manning is the same difference in points between Terry Bradshaw and Ron Jaworski. Jaws. Yeah. Jaws of the Philadelphia Eagles. So that is how dominant Brady was and how important those Colts-Patriots games from the beginning of the 2000s were for both of their legacies and both of their standings in the all-time. And that's why it's the greatest. This is better than Magic Bird because these two are the greatest that ever did it in their sport. Brady, Manning, I mean, it's such special that we were able to have those matchups. And now Brady's just adding to the lead with all this stuff late. But then the difference between Manning and Montana is as large as like Montana down to Terry Bradshaw and Steve Young. So those two are by far and away the greatest quarterbacks of all time. And we just came out of that era.
And fun little Tom Brady story, if we are wrapping up here. So Clayton and I had the fun opportunity to go to the Hall of Fame this year, the commencement. And Clayton and I are waiting in line to get in. We have our tickets. We're ready to go. Next thing you know, I look to my left and behind us. I see Bruce Arians walking up. And I'm like, oh, that's pretty neat. Right behind him is Tom Brady. So, you know, me being as I would consider myself a very outgoing individual, normally good at talking to people, walking up to strangers, saying hello. I mean, I'm sure you guys can attest to that. Mm-hmm. Tom Brady, as he's walking by me, I lost my voice and couldn't speak. I go, and I literally, this is how it went. I go, Tom, I tried to say congrats on the Super Bowl, Tom, but all that came out of my mouth was Tom. And he looked to his right and just gave me the most confused expression, said thanks, and kept going.
Hold on, didn't you say no? You said congrats on the Super Bowl, Tom. And as you were saying the congrats part of it, your voice cracked, and you sounded like a 12-year-old. And Tom was like, "What was that?" Stopped. Thanks,
and just
Tom.
said like thanks because he was very confused. Because like Clayton said, my voice like cracked / went out, so it was like Tom, like the only clear word of that sentence.
Uh-oh, who's he calling now?
Tom Brady. But yeah, so probably my only interaction with Tom Brady ever will be that. So I have to live with that.
Russ Heltman
Oh,
joins-
baby.
Russ, are you there?
How we doing, fellas?
What's
What's
up?
up, Russ?
Hey.
I don't know if you know, but we got Clayton and Brad on the show, and they both predicted the Bengals to win the division. You believe that?
You can get it plus money right now, plus 2 to 1. The
Hey,
taking candy from
Hey,
a baby.
I'm making easy money though too, guys. I got a bet with my mom that the Browns will win more than five games this year because she thinks we're somehow getting worse, not better. And she bet me $50 that the Browns would not win 5 games this year.
I mean, what do you think, Russ? What's the Browns' win range this year?
Let's see. I guess have they come out? I guess they do have over-unders right now.
It was nine and
what
a
is it,
half is the over under. Yeah, I did my win range is 8 to 12. As the
7 to 10 for the Browns.
7 to 10. Okay, he's a little lighter on it. Why are you a little lighter on the Browns? What's your question mark from them being a team that can compete for the division and for maybe like a first round bye or one of the first 2 seeds?
I just don't see the talent on the defensive line. I don't see Myles Garrett and who else? Who else on that defense? It's Denzel Ward and Myles Garrett, and they don't have a defensive coordinator like a Brandon Staley or like a who was the guy last year for the Rams?
Holmes.
No. He was a GM. It
That's
was
the GM. Yeah.
former Tampa Bay Buccaneers coach. Anyway, he was former Buccaneers head coach.
I burned all the Rams knowledge.
Regardless, I don't know. I don't see the defense being that great.
Raheem Morris.
There you go. Yes.
Thank
Raheem
you,
Morris.
Well, yeah, I mean, how worried are you about Deshaun? Because to me, Deshaun is a great quarterback, but not maybe necessarily a winning quarterback. But I think that this is a decent culture with a decent coach, and they're going to plug in a quarterback that just is coming off a 108 passer rating. So, like, that's where I think they can ascend is if Deshaun Watson comes in and is Deshaun Watson and the rest of the team and the defense is just average, I feel like they can win 11, 12 games. I mean, how worried are we supposed to be or should be about Deshaun, Russ?
I'd be worried that he's going to play at all this year.
Yeah, that's true.
Like what?
I mean,
like based on all that we know, heavy. Trevor Bauer just got 2 years.
Yeah.
Person gets taken to criminal court for that. I'm not saying obviously it's a completely different league, completely different cases, but at some point, if you're the commissioner of this football league, you need to lay down a true precedent for how you need to conduct yourself around women. And that has not been done here in the NFL at all, especially when you compare it to like Calvin Ridley gets a year suspension. If you're going to tell us how you really feel about gambling and the way you treated Calvin Ridley, then you're also going to tell us how you really feel once and for all about the way your athletes treat women with how much time they've had to make a decision on Deshaun Watson and how much research and investigation they put into it. I am ready to be disappointed as usual by the NFL and their decisions in terms of these type of things, but I would be shocked if it's less than 6 games and not surprised if he's suspended for the entire season. And Roger Goodell goes, "Oh, that was very cute how you took away the full base salary for this year. We're going to make sure he doesn't get a lick of that base salary."
Clayton.
So I guess my question for Russ is then did that factor into your decision making at all when you said the 7 to 10 wins for the Browns? Are you factoring that? You know, you're making it sound like you already have him fully suspended at this point for at least 6 games, which I firmly believe will happen.
Yeah.
But I'm just curious, is that factored into what you just told us there?
Oh yeah, 1,000%. If they had Watson for 17 games, I would say 10 to 13 should be the win total. But then again, Deshaun Watson, his greatest season of his career and one of the 5 greatest statistical seasons in NFL history. How many games does this team win?
4.
4 games. That's right. Yeah. So it's a full 22-man operation. And like I said, I am, until proven otherwise, not sold on that Browns defense being able to get stops when they absolutely have to have it.
Okay.
So Russ, this is more of a request from Clayton. And I feel like it's kind of a little mean to ask you about it because I know it's a soft spot for you, and I know that it's a really important thing in your life as a sports fan. And it's the Charlotte Hornets.
Okay.
Where are we going? What is there hope? I know there's LaMelo, but is there true, like, how are you feeling as a Hornets fan at this moment right now?
This is a very important draft, fellas. A draft where I think in 10 years we'll have 2 top 15 picks, thanks to the New Orleans Pelicans graciously playing tournament and then going into the playoffs to just get waxed in the first round. Not fully waxed, but still waxed in the first round by the Phoenix Suns. Thank you, New Orleans, for doing that and giving the Hornets an added first round lottery pick. And for General Manager Mitch Kupchak, who I think has done a fantastic job, Mitch, we need 2 more hits right here. And if he hits on these 2 players, namely, in my hope, Jeremy Sohan and maybe Okai Abaji out of Kansas with that second pick at the back end of the lottery, then I see this team getting rocket fuel with the right coach. And my wish list is Mike D'Antoni all the way. I want Mike D'Antoni to put rocket fuel into this team, into this offense, draft the talented defensive players with the foundation already in place for their defensive skills, and then continue to build on this offense with Mike D'Antoni. It's like James Borrego came up with all he could come up with last year, guys. They did not have the roster talent defensively to keep up with the talent level of the NBA this year. And I don't care what coach you bring in. I don't care what scheme you bring in. I don't care if you bring in Tom Thibodeau on the other end of the spectrum from Mike D'Antoni. It's not going to get better unless you get real defensive-minded players onto that roster, and hopefully they add 1 or 2 veterans in that sense. They add 2 defensive-minded draft picks in that sense, and it's enough roster-wise to allow you to be comfortable in saying, all right, Mike D'Antoni, he is the best coaching option on the market. I don't think it's very close. Him and Kenny Atkinson, I would say, are a cut above the rest pretty significantly. And if you can get past his issues historically with building a great defensive system by adding strong defensive talent to the roster to buoy that, I think it's a no-brainer to go after Mike D'Antoni. I would love to see LaMelo run that D'Antoni run and gun offense.
Oh yeah. Woo, well, I think that's the thing is that the criticism that I could make here, Russ, is, what do you want to do? Have the best offense in the league and lose in the conference finals? And then you would go, hell yeah, that's what I want.
Playoff series, fellas. I want to win 1 playoff series.
Yeah, I mean exactly. I think that's a great move and a great hire because you're not trying to win a championship. I mean, you are trying to win a championship at Charlotte, I know, but it's a lot like you're just trying to be hyper competitive and trying to get the most out of LaMelo Ball right now. And the Larry O'Brien Trophy, if it comes out of something, it's like the Cleveland Cavaliers right now, Clayton. Like next year is the first year where I want that word championship to just start to pop in. But it's really not about next year. It's about 2 years from now. That's when the true championship window opens.
Hold on. I just want to throw something out there that Lucas is pointing out here. What happens in 2 years, everybody? Does anybody know?
A LeBron James?
Yeah. Somebody named LeBron is a free agent again.
Yeah, I actually think that's going to happen.
Let's look at the somber moments. Obviously, I was a rough night when the Cavs lost to Atlanta, as we're watching Atlanta highlights right here.
The Hornets. That we got the Atlanta versus Hornets. To be mean to you, Clayton, I'll pull up them beating your Cavs.
No, we're good. Ice Tray went off, and that's all it was in the second half. I think after having a somber night that night, I was like, after that sombering night, I was like, you know what? At least we get our draft pick back and can try to do something with it now. I'm like, we're lotto pick, maybe get lucky and the ping pong balls fall our way, and maybe somehow it ends up the top 3 pick. Who knows?
So how about this? I want to put this question out there because I think it might get Russ heated, and I love when Russ gets a little heated. Brad, I'll give you the chance to answer. Clayton the chance to answer. short arguments, because remember, we got a lot of people on here, and I've been on this a very long time, and I'm getting tired. But next 5 years, who will have more playoff series wins? The Cavaliers or the Hornets? Cavaliers or the Hornets? Brad, go.
Cavs. Already signed our coach to an extension. Bickerstaff, I think, does a phenomenal job with rotation, especially because it looks like we have a young star, maybe potential MVP candidate in Darius Garland. But with the way he had the rotations this year, I think that's only going to improve and add just a couple more pieces. And they're going to be winning playoff series left and right here come about 3 years.
Clayton.
I agree, Cavs. It's hard for me not to say that. Obviously, being a Cavs fan, that's easy. But Charlotte, they have. Don't get me wrong. I respect LaMelo Ball. I like him. But at the same time, they have some pieces around them. I just think the Cavs have more pieces at this point. Let me see.
Okay, but like they have the same pieces and they were in the same play-in tournament. I mean, I don't know. You sure?
I think the Cavs have more pieces in a sense.
Yeah.
I like Russ. I being Charlotte. I see where you're going, and honestly, I want to see what you guys do with these 2 draft picks. And I think that would honestly affect our sense of what's happening in this question and figure out the 5-year plan would be to see what happens in the draft first before we can get a fair assessment of the Hornets.
Russ,
but I do want to hear Russ's thoughts on
that. Russ, what do you think?
Well, obviously these 2 picks, I think, they're gonna tell us whether or not they're gonna tell us the answer to this question, in my opinion. So when you look at the Hornets, they are behind the Cavs right now. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. I'm not going to be a homer on here and try to lie to the people and say that the Cavs are not ahead of the Hornets. Like, they have Evan Mobley and Darius Garland, 2 of I would say the top 5 players at their positions, age 26 or younger. So when you think about that, the Hornets have one of those equations. They have LaMelo Ball and Miles Bridges. Jared Allen as well. Great point there, Clayton. He's another player where at that age the Hornets just don't have that kind of talent. Now, sure, you could probably put, I would say Jared Allen and Miles Bridges are in the same kind of tier of player right now. And Jared Allen making about $20 million, $22 million a year. That's right around what Miles Bridges is going to get paid this offseason. So, sure, is that secondary piece, but there's not that third piece that you have to be a true playoff series winning team in the NBA nowadays, with how much talent there is spread across all 30 teams and what I would expect to be an expansion scenario here very soon because of all that talent. You have to be at least 3 guys deep, and the Hornets would be 3 guys deep if that guy Gordon Hayward ever played more than 30 games a year, guys. He literally is just stealing money every single season. I know he's not intentionally getting hurt and intentionally sitting out like that absolute joke of a basketball player, Ben Simmons. But the fact that he can't play ever more than 50 games in a season and has in both seasons with the Hornets not been available during the play-in, during the playoff scenarios, it's just gutting for this franchise, especially when you think about them paying him essentially $40 million per year because they gave him a $30 million contract 2 seasons ago and had to stretch the final 2 years of Nicholas Batum's contract into a 4-year stretch situation. So that was $10 million lopped off the salary cap every single season throughout the entirety of Gordon Hayward's contract. So you're basically paying him $40 million per year. And that's the albatross that don't have over their head right now. Kevin Love coming off the books after this coming season. And so to me, or he might be an expiring contract this year. I know it's either after this season or after the 2022-23 season. So when you think about the financial issues the Hornets have and the smaller roster base to gauge success and talent off of that the Hornets have, I'd say it's pretty hard to make a case that Cleveland is not going to win more playoff series over the next 5 years. But if they get a Jeremy Sohan from Baylor, if they get a Okay Agbaji, and those players hit and play like I think they can for this Hornets team, and they nail that coaching hire, then they'll be right on their way. They got the GM right, and I pray that Mitch Kupchak can keep this job as long as possible because he has been far and away the best GM of the Michael Jordan era owning the Charlotte franchise. And this draft is massive for his tenure as GM as well.
So
Wow.
I went through the reference pages while you were talking there, Russ.
Yeah, this is interesting.
They're both one. They were one win apart. They were in the same play-in tournament, and
Yeah.
we're talking about how far away the Hornets are from the Cavs. 44 wins, 43 wins. Top 10 offensive rating from the Hornets. They were 23rd in defensive rating. Offensive rating was only 20th for the Cavaliers this year, 7th in defensive rating. So yes, I think defense is definitely where the Hornets need to improve, but they can score. And I like LaMelo Ball's ceiling more than I like Darius Garland's ceiling. I think Darius Garland and Evan Mobley are a better pair, but I really do think LaMelo Ball, if he's in a seriously competitive situation, I'm going back to LaMelo Ball's stats so we can see him again. If he goes to a seriously competitive situation, like LaMelo Ball and Darius Garland were really comparable players this year. And so I just think that I think that you as a Hornets fan, I'm going to answer the Hornets. I think the Hornets have a better 5-year window ahead of them than the Cavaliers because of LaMelo Ball's ceiling. And again, the question was playoff series one. And I know, Russ, you haven't seen a playoff series win, so you're like not even fathoming winning multiple series, right? So you're like, okay, that's a tough question. That's like playoff games with the Bengals before this year. It's a really tough question. But playoff series one, I think LaMelo Ball has the more high-end potential to win playoff series on his own. I think it's going to end up being really close, and I think that they're going to be much more similar at the end of the 5 years than two. I think they're very close in terms of the trajectory of the franchises. But I think we mentioned all these problems with the Hornets, and you look at the two team profiles, and they're really similar. And the best player on each team is really similar. And I just think that leads to a similar 5-year trajectory. But it's really going to depend on each of the front offices and who do you trust more. And I guess maybe you trust Cleveland more. If you tell me they get LeBron, I trust them more. But I think it's the Hornets. I really do. I think that
it's a fun question. You can make a case. I think you can. And I think where the biggest fallout for the Hornets argument comes is that interior presence, which they have none. They do not have a front court player that comes close to the likes of what Evan Mobley and Jared Allen are going to be in 2024, 2025. What that pairing will look like in the front court, it's going to be downright scary, especially in a league in today's game where you don't have front court pairings as big as that and still able to operate at a efficient level offensively.
Yeah, Mason Plumlee ain't going to cut it.
So
yeah, we got to get him out of the team. Sorry,
so
Mason.
Russ brought up.
But
Russ actually brought up a point that I wanted to try to roll off of at this point. I didn't realize it till he said it, but the Cavs do have $28 million coming off the books after this year for Love. Obviously, you got to pay Garland and Sexton potentially, and see where that goes. But I'm not saying get rid of Love because I honestly thought he had a great, sixth man coming off the bench. Like if you looked at his stats, they were really phenomenal with how many minutes he was playing per game. He was filling up the stat sheet in that sense and was second in All-Star game or in sixth man of the year. So yeah, I don't know. I just thought that was interesting. I didn't realize this was Love's last year.
Yeah, it's interesting questions all the way around. Russ, we don't want to listen. I got to pee, fellas, so that's going to bring the end to this show. Just by the way, we've been going a really long time, Russ. We're at 2 hours and 23 minutes.
Nice
on the stream. And Clayton, what was sad is that Brad was watching, and then there were a couple other people on Facebook watching. And Clayton just gets on Twitter where there were no live viewers, and he texts me. He goes, "Dude, I'm sorry, bro. Nobody's watching." And I'm like, "Dude, you think I care if whether people are watching or not?" Like,
it's always harder on Twitter too. You're scrolling much faster.
Yeah, I wouldn't watch this if I were scrolling Twitter either.
No, I didn't mean it like you're making this sound a lot worse than I meant. I was trying to be like, you're getting your views here. Like, I know you're getting views somewhere. I just thought it was interesting, not from Twitter. I thought most of your 3 a.m. Tony following was more off of Twitter than I guess it was.
Yeah,
or you know what I mean.
And it is, and it's still hard to get live viewers, and we're just trying to push out content. And the more often we do this, the more live viewers you have hop on and so forth. And anyways, I had fun doing it, and I got nothing else to do on Friday midday. Russ is out running around hitting the gym, so he was
That's where I'm
very
going next.
busy. And
About to
Brad's
slam
going to
some
the
pre-
gym
I'm about
now.
to slam some pre-workout and hit a back day, boys.
Yeah, I got a booster shot today, and I can't feel my left shoulder. So,
That's a workout in itself.
right, I did some push-ups before because I knew that it would hurt later to do push-ups. So I did some push-ups today. That was my workout. Russ,
Oh,
thanks
yeah,
so
you
much
did.
for calling in and talking a little AFC North. I know we didn't let you give your Bengals takes, but it's been a long
Well,
time.
I'm open for Reds takes, Russ. I'd love to hear your thoughts on the Reds.
What thoughts can you give? I said no baseball on this podcast. There is no baseball being played in the city of Cincinnati right now. Okay. Other than like, is high school baseball still going on, Russ, or is that over?
Yeah, Mueller, right, is one of the top teams in the state, I think.
Yeah, Moeller. That's
Moeller.
King Griffey.
Yeah, they
Jr.
could probably give the Reds a run for their money.
At this point.
The Dragons have the best record in minor league baseball right now. I'd like to see them play the Reds.
Shout out.
Well, the Reds are playing. I think half their starting roster right now is minor league contracts. So, like, yeah, the Dragons could legitimately give them a run. I really think.
Which, shout out friend of the show, Joe Boyle, who's been on the 3 a.m. Coney. Clayton, I don't know if you've seen him pitch. That 100-mile-per-hour hurler out of Notre Dame, 5th-round pick for the Reds, former Kalamazoo Growler, avid Star Wars fan. And him and I still are able to communicate every now and then they'll probably be a guest on the show. 13 innings pitched, no runs, 22 strikeouts for the 100-mile-per-hour hurler. That was a reliever at Notre Dame. They're pushing him into the starting rotation. So,
really? I kind of want to go watch him play.
Yeah. So if you see him, just shout like Kalamazoo. Joe Boyle. Joe Boyle. You'll see him. He's
Growlers till I die.
Growlers till I die. If you say that, his head will snap around. It'll be like, excuse me. You like, remember when you went into Madison and you beat the Mallards? Like, yeah, I remember that from that summer. Like, yeah.
That's a long shout.
Summer 2019. Or was it 19 or 18?
That's a long shout. You're right, Russ. You remember that I'm running out of breath? You were that one time when it was a 2-2 count and you threw a fastball. By this time,
auctioneer for that.
Yeah, all of fifth, third field will be looking at you. It's not fifth, third field anymore.
No, it's Day Air Ballpark now.
Day Air. Oh, that's cool.
It's another, I think, banking thing, so it kind of fits the theme.
Yeah, whoever pays the money, racks on racks on racks. All right, Brad, Clayton, Russ, thank you fellas all for coming on and doing this first long live stream of the 3 a.m. Coney. This obviously won't be a constant thing. This obviously won't be to have this option to be able to do this, think about the potential for live event reaction and things like that of what can happen throughout the year. So I'm really excited for it, fellas, and I thank you all.
Of course. Thanks for having us on.
Fun, guys. Good chatting with you.
Yep.
All right.
Peace.
That's going to be the end of it. As Russ hangs up, as Brad hangs up, Clayton's going to hang around for the end of the show. But we thank everybody for listening, and I'm going to hit the outro music. That's what I'm leaning down to do. Just having fun on the 3 a.m. Coney. I don't think Spotify is going to let me post a 2-hour and 28-minute episode, so this one might just exist on YouTube.
Okay.
Fine by me. See y'all.